I was gonna write a note while people are trickling in, or ending your life with Mim. It can take a while for people to get here, so if they're gonna come, I'll give them a little bit of time. They're the first designing Mim, decentralized knowledge management. For what? What did I say? A framework for decentralized knowledge management. That's what I said. And this is kind of where it's going. Started the first live stream. I think I can't type. Designing Mim, a framework for decentralized knowledge management. And that's exactly what it is. That's not there anymore. I have this here. The more I thought about it all day, and drew diagrams, the more I see the relation between all the components that I described earlier. So we have base yeah, the first component and description. Base knowledge base. And work. Memwork. What's memwork? Memwork is resume and other. Let's see. Other. It's kind of like a. I can't figure out the exact word for it because it doesn't exist. It's not a. It's not a database. I think I sound really pretentious, but it's like life's work manager. That's what it is. That's exactly what it is. It sounds like so weird because it doesn't exist. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Holy cow. I don't know if you call it a utility or a manager. It's like a assistant. It's just I'm inventing new words here because there is no words. There's no words. And how's it going, Sensei? Oh wait, BSB, brah. And skills. Skills management. Skills development. Personal learning. Learning manager. Max K. Oh, hi. Personal learning assistant. And yeah, I mean, that's really the stuff that's all coming together. I'm just trying to figure out, there's another big pieces of it too, but oh right, I forgot another one. Mim directory, mimdir. Mim, we call it directory. Spark some restream bot messages with my life. Hello, man. Hey. Light listing of mem bases for discovery. Memdir, mem skills, mem work, mem base. I should probably start talking about this. I wonder how many we got here. Oh, 9. That's not bad. This is the kind of thing that's going to be very hard for anybody to be interested in but me. I'm just going to apologize right now, but I'm going to try to work on it. If somebody else has stuff they want to offer, that's cool. I'll be doing a lot of modeling and drawing and creation of and things. I don't know. Mem skills. Mims can't speak of itself, so it can't. It's kind of a joke framework for creators. It's this kind of joke of framework creators. Mim's the word. No, not really. I don't know. What are you talking about? Where are you referring to? I'm trying to do a search here. Are you saying there's a? I'm actually speaking about Mimir. So maybe if it's a bad name, I just need to know I can change the name. But that's the name I've been working on. So I'm gonna search for Mims. Mimsy. There it is. Says I think you are a god. I'm not. Thank you. I'm writing a lot, but I just feel like there's a lot of things to be done, you know? Mim is a person who shows things by hands. I don't know. What is a mim? Mim. Maurice Mims. Nope. Mims Malaysia. You're probably fine. There is no definition of mim. Mim is a name I made up. It's based on the word mimir. What is a mim? Let's see if there's anything on the internet for this. What is the mim? Never seen it registered by the career vision. Nope. May refer to the master of management. Nope. Although that's nice. Master of management. What is MIM? What does MIM do? Microsoft Identity Manager. That one I already knew about. Santa without the Santa suit. I do kind of. I don't know why. I'm sort of destined to look like Santa. I also really love Christmassy things. MIM file extension. What's MIM file? Whatever. Stupid fucking. I don't. I hate that there's a thing that already has the extension, but I don't care. Just as there's a MIM machine identity module. Masters. No. That's so far nothing. There's nothing here. There's nothing wrong with mobile instant messaging. Hi, how's it going, Greg? Is that one you just sent? God, I wish WeChat would purge faster. It takes forever for it to write. I'm not pulling that one up. Крутяк. Что такое? Ты по-русски говоришь? Почему никогда пока ничего не сказал на русском? Если ты говоришь по-русски. Is shortage of pantomime. Well, what does that even mean? Oh, mime. Mime? Крутяк это как круто. Круто? Круто is awesome? Не знал это. Making пироги this year. Oh, wow. 300 or 400. You're crazy, man. Crazy. Oh, wait, there we go. Links. Last. Whatever that is. Let's go see what that is. А, все на русском. Все изображение. Ну что же. Видео мимы. Виктория мимы. Мима. Мим, as in meme. Ну, конечно. Это как написается мим. No, it's not a meme. It's mim. Mim. That's interesting, though, because people are going to think it's a meme. Yeah, it's actually not memes. Mime. Yeah, it's mimir. And that's fine, though. I suppose it's because it's easy to type. I'm going to be typing mim like 100, if not 1,000 times a day once it's built. So I wanted to find something that was kind of easy on my fingers and stuff. Oh man, how are you know Russian so well? Okay, my Russian is worse than your English. Странно, что написано мимой, потому что обычно пишут мемой. Ну ладно. Australiano. Hello, lol. Hi, Likid. GM. So I guess I can probably get into this now. Some of the regulars are here. I mean, look, it's not unusual for me to blow scope out of whack for different things, but I got to tell you, this feels like it's a scope expansion. It's actually memes. Yeah, memes. This is not. So yeah. Here, Rob's. I know. So there's been like nothing here is proprietary that I'm talking about. Not no so much if you're wrong. It's just but I mean, and this is a little kitschy. I get it, but that's fine. So for the last 8 years, I know this sounds like a long story, and it kind of is, but I'm trying to shorten it. for the last 8 years, I've been working on all different sorts of knowledge management things. And most of them are related to things that I wanted that didn't exist. So there's never been a really good blogging engine, period. They suck. All the existing ones really suck. And they usually require a graphics interface, and they don't use Markdown. And if they do, they use Pandoc, or else they don't use all of Pandoc properly. They all have really big problems. And I mean, that doesn't stop people from using them. They use them all the time. But it's nothing I wanted to use, and so I keep trying to rebuild it, and I did. I used shell scripts to build my knowledge management system that I have today. It's KN. It's the thing I use to build all my tools with, and it's a really great prototype, but it's not the finished product by any means. And some time ago, I've written a lot about this, the whole knowledge net thing, and I almost just don't even want to go into it because I need to make a video just about what I think could happen with the world and how I think a new knowledge net could emerge. And there's like actually a desire for one. If it's not a secret, why do I know Russian? Because I went to school to learn Russian. Yep, I was a Russian major. And I really love communication, I really love writing, I love sharing knowledge, I love reading knowledge. I don't like sifting through a bunch of crap in graphics to get to the knowledge, unless the knowledge is, graphics are related to the knowledge. So I created a thing called the Essential Web some time ago. We've been working on it forever. We haven't identified our own hardware that we started working on. We were looking at the iPad screens and we really did. This is part of what we did in the pro group in SkillStack. But even before then, the thing that got SkillStack started, which is the company that I run now for mentoring. It was about managing your learning and everything. What I'm just now today realizing is all of it has been related the whole time. Mind maps, yeah. I was a Russian major. I went to university to learn Russian. And what I'm now realizing is that the common thread in everything that I've been interested in making my whole life, or at least the last 10 years, has been learning and personal learning and knowledge management and sharing that. And I gotta put that down. Okay. I'm realizing the last 10 years of my life have been done through not it wasn't it wasn't an accident, but it was, what's the word? I lived in St. Petersburg for almost a year, actually. Do you know Ulica Gagarina? Yeah, have been Площадь Гагарина, улица Гагарина, недалеко от Гагарина гостиница. Знаете? So, have been... Oh, ну ладно. Moscow. Wow. Yeah, I was there lots too. Informally, I guess, dedicated to promoting personal learning and knowledge management and sharing systems and applications. And this is oh, do you? Wow. In Petersburg, beautiful city. It is. Yeah. St. Pete, Petropavlovsky крепость. Да, Эрмитаж. Все это. So this is kind of the conclusion. I know you guys wonder what I'm doing. I'm kind of stuck in thought. That's why I've just got, the dog here, the fire, because I'm thinking, and this is the design phase. But what I guess the realization I've had is, and I don't mean to sound overly bombastic about this, is that all of the work that I've been related in doing, including starting SkillStack, has been fundamentally driven by a desire to get people to help people, including me, to manage my learning and knowledge and share it the most efficiently. And that means, searching it and all that stuff, and to remove the dependencies and all the broken shit that exists right now. How's it going, Moshi Moshi? So that's what it's about, and so I mean, let me just recap. So we had the essential web that I did. We have this proto resume thing that was just a fun over engineering thing. And I realized it's actually I want a life's work manager, and I know that sounds really, really pompous, but that's what it is. That's what it is. I want a tool to help manage my life's work. I want to be able to keep it together. I want to be able to list the things that I've done. I want to be able to list the tasks I've done. I want to be able to identify the skills that were related for a particular task that I did. I want to create views that are resumes or profiles on a website. I want all of that stuff to be centralized. And I want to be, but for me, not for somebody else to mine and sell to somebody. I want full control over that. I want this kind of application that can live with me and be my friend. And as I age, there's a lot of experience that I'm capturing, and that's what's got me thinking about that particular part of this whole equation. But not just for me, but also for beginners. If beginners, I've said before, a lot of people, sometimes beginners don't know what they're doing when they get. I remember being unable to write a resume and not knowing what to do. My dad helped me, and I felt really liberated that he was that he helped me to formulate the resume and know how to do it and everything. But that whole act of taking control of capturing my life's work up to that point, and I don't just mean the reason I'm putting life's work in here instead of job or career is because that's what it is. It's a life's work, and this really came out today when we were talking, and I'll get into it when we do the data model. It really came out that we are talking about more than jobs, way more than that. We're talking about things you do in your free time. We're talking about your interests. And more, by the way, these things are manifesting in, official professional resumes because people want to know. And as I've said over and over again, if I'm hiring you, let me read you something that's consistent with this line of thinking. Somebody the other day asked me, what's up with cybersecurity? How can I best learn cybersecurity? And this came across my feed today, and I'm going to almost read the whole thing to you, not all. But it perfectly encapsulates many of the issues that I discussed informally yesterday on the whatever stream. And it's really key to understanding both the thing that I'm trying to put my head around, making a system, a framework for, as well as the nature of learning, as well as all of the things that are broken that are used as gatekeeper assessments for people to enter the workforce. All of that is wrapped up into one nice, convenient little blog post here. So this is a blog post, and I won't read the whole details, but it's talking about why I saw microlearning. I was like, hell yeah, because I have been calling microlearning is their word for just-in-time learning, or learning enough to get to do the task and then move on, and it requires an intense amount of well-trained autodidactic prowess. You've got to know how to learn quickly, and you have to know those skills. And I did, I'm going to have to rewind a little bit in the autodidactic habits series of videos that I did because this really needs to go in there. And cybersecurity, which is an important thing on the rise, it fundamentally depends on this learning really quickly and learning in ways that are not on anyone's radar in the traditional or formal sense, but successful cybersecurity people, as well as successful autodidacts who have been doing this since the beginning of time. And now it's just finally getting a conversation about it in a way that's like, oh my God, we should be doing this. This is how people learn. This is how they're most effective in a world where the technology advances at an exponential rate. There's no way we can keep up. None of us can keep up unless we learn this fundamental skill of microlearning. And so what does that mean? And what are the tools necessary to be able to do this microlearning and to facilitate it? And that's what MIM is. That is what MIM is. The MIM framework is a set of tools that are specifically designed for knowledge work personal learners, for personal learning management, and for knowledge management, knowledge workers, and for sharing, knowledge related to those things. And that is this suite of tools that I've been not connecting, but I've been working on for the last 10 years without really knowing it. Not just room for just wasting your time completely. I can't procrastinate. Thanks, Rob. No, okay, yeah, and so I'm going to talk about this a lot. Yeah, most people, most knowledge workers, as soon as they hear about these ideas, and by the way, none of the ideas are particularly original. Probably the most novel idea is just putting words around using software development practices. So the center part of this knowledge management is software developers. The software development industry has already figured out how to deal with high velocity turnover in knowledge and scripts. So if you take all the lessons from the software development world and that they've learned and all the technologies they've learned, if you apply them toward knowledge source, and that is the fundamental essence of MIM, the knowledge base, knowledge management, then that's what this is about. So that's what that's about. That's like, we're basically going to take everything the world has learned about managing software, versioning, sharing, all of that, and we apply that towards knowledge as source. So that's a real key kind of couplet, terms that I use all the time. Knowledge as source. In other words, letters. Markdown. Pandoc Markdown is the syntax of knowledge, just like Python is the syntax of Python scripts and stuff like that. So if we address knowledge and manage it like source code, and make it easy for everyone to use, we've covered that base. So that's just one piece of it, though. And then you have this, the resume thing, which I've been kind of off on the last week or two. So that stuff quicker though. Okay, yeah. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to talk to this paper a little bit. I'll try to watch over my shoulder as you guys are posting here. Let's see. It used to be if you needed a data structure, say a balance tree, you needed to write yourself to buy it. Yeah. And people are still testing on all that stuff, and you do need to learn them, but you're not going to be using them every day. That's the kind of stuff you can look up, and that's exactly what this is about. I really love that this is taking direct aim at the myths about learning and technology and the requirements for fulfilling a position. This is takes direct aim at that shit. Cyber attacks are on the rise during the year of uncertainty. Working from home is increasing. Online shopping. Yeah, that's kind of a thing. But so she's saying there's a reason to stay informed and for cybersecurity to continue to go. All right, so let's keep going. To mitigate the threat to their network systems and assets, many organizations are performing annual cybersecurity awareness education as well as phishing simulations once a year. Unfortunately, and this is the problem, so every time we making any kind of solution, writing an app, making a command line tool, anything, you always have to think about it. What problem am I solving out there? If the problem is I want to be entertained, fine, but what is the problem? And she talks about the problem right here. Attackers are quick to adapt to changes, while employees' behaviors changes slowly. And I'm gonna pause right there, and I'm gonna say the reason employees' behavior is slow to change is because they have been trained in a traditional system that does not promote just-in-time learning and speedy, kind of take-up of a thing. And you find people who are really successful in life, and they've learned to do all of this despite the system. The system would have them not learn anything except for what's on the test. It would have them, wait until the last minute to submit their paper so they can get their A. It basically rewards you for being a lazy learner. That's just the reality, and that's just where we are, unfortunately. So it says here, without a dramatic shift in how we educate employees about cybersecurity, all industries are going to see a rise in breach and costs. All right. That statement is not just applicable to cybersecurity. It's directly applicable to everything, but particularly technology, not just cybersecurity. The rate of pace, the pace of discovery. If you look at in the field of sciences and things like that, the pace of discovery and advancement of humanity. Unfortunately, not on particularly on like the ethics scale, but in terms of like skills and knowledge and technology, it's going so fast that it's not just the cybersecurity, but all industries are going to see a rise without a dramatic shift in educating employees about security. Now, I don't like that she says educate employees. The problem here is that employees are not educating themselves, and she actually gets to that point. What do we got here? It's a pretty long comment here. Let me resize a little bit. Adidra, it was easier to learn back when it was fun. You know what? Learning is always fun. The problem is it's been taken away from us. Hobbit and Mudge literally betting pawn ISPs during poker games in the 90s. We're about to talk about the fun. She actually talks about fun. It's really interesting. Nowadays, there's a lot of infrastructure grind to get through insecurity. Yeah, well, she's going to talk about that very thing. You get to the fun stuff quicker, though. Yep. It used to be if you needed data structure, say to balance a tree, you need to write it yourself. Yeah, we talked about that. I understand. Without a tool, it is almost impossible to enter, for example, 3D game development mainstream. I tried, blah, blah, blah. It was so hard. It seemed impossible, right? But plus, not only that, you can't kind of, that nebulous feeling like I don't know where I stand with my own skills. I don't know how much I don't know. That's a problem. We have to, and it's not like you're going to go to some college course or something or some, and go watch a Udemy course and all of a sudden that feeling is going to go away. It's going to persist because the flood of new skills, even in something that you're staying up on, is so overwhelming that we need better tools. We need better practices. In other words, better, general things that you would do. And we need better tools to help knowledge workers, which is pretty much everybody these days. It's getting to the point where everyone is a knowledge worker. And we don't have the tools, and nobody's making us the tools, because the tools that knowledge workers need are not the tools that oftentimes are going to make money. Most people who want a knowledge tool say, okay, well, where's the venture capital and what host service can I put on AWS and centralize the whole thing? What we actually need is a lot of, I think, concentrated thought about what does it mean to be a knowledge worker today, and how do you manage that entire thing from beginning to end, from the day you're born until the day you leave. Federated is greater than centralized, and I totally agree with that, but nobody wants to promote federated because there's no money in it. And they damn well don't want to make a tool for you to use, because that's old school software thinking. Go down and buy a box and install your software. The thing I'm talking about would not necessarily have a value proposition that would make you money. Although if somebody wanted to buy an additional module version or something, I really don't. I'm not thinking about that right now. If you can convince enough people to add info to their knowledge base and publish them in a machine-readable and findable way, next step is a search engine. Tony, well, this is exact. You maybe not have been on streams before. That you perfectly described what the knowledge net is. That is the whole focus of what I've been making, and I have that design mostly finished. It's just a matter of executing on it now, and I keep getting bogged down because the pagan stuff was going to be the new Pandoc format, blah blah blah. But it's all about, I have a way for people to federate their subscriptions and follows of one another, and then to indirectly refer. So it's a circle of trust kind of thing. It's basically all the kind of things from GPG security, circle of trust and stuff, as well as some of the core ideas of blockchain without the blockchain. It's like a way, the federated theory is solid in all of that. And we need to apply those approaches to lots of things. In abstract standardized Wikipedia, hell no. The biggest, we've talked about that before a lot. Wikipedia is centralized, starting for the first thing, and set number two, it's not based on the individual. Everything I'm talking about is promoting the individual, and that's the biggest problem with all of our systems currently. Is that if you want a blog, how many people write their own blog engine? And that's fine, but really what you want is a centralized, consistent way to manage all of your knowledge, to be able to search your own knowledge from anywhere, and to allow other people to search your knowledge, optionally. To capture that knowledge quickly, efficiently, in a way that's versioned, and to supplement that with your life's work database, which is like everything you've done in there. That's a different thing that might have different visibility, etc. And that's what's going on with the design. And on top of all of that, you need a way to like track your skills and know where you are, and so you don't, the whole skill stack thing. That's the name of my original one, was skill stack. So you can track your skills and know which ones to learn and which ones to focus on. And I've talked about that in the skill stack method in pedagogy and the autodidactic stuff. So every time I talk about this, there's a couple of things people always bring up. They always bring up wikis, and they bring up what's the other thing? There's a German thing. What's it called? It starts with K or something. It's this idea of like consumable units of information, and I call them a knowledge node, but that's kind of deep into one particular angle on this whole thing, and I'm trying to keep it back up at the top level for a bit and show you how the things connect in terms of meeting the needs of a modern knowledge worker, which is a lot of people. The book course I've been writing, the glossary of terms, I am finding I just need to make a chapter 1. I didn't realize how much of a problem missing terms would be from the alpha testers. Exactly. So these are all of these problems, and that's actually one of the things I addressed in the knowledge net. So every time you make a knowledge node, the words in it are automatically added to a lexicon that can be downloaded and searched by anybody who wants to dig in deeper to your stuff. And that stuff, by the way, is all versioned and all updated. So, and when you want to be able to search this stuff, and I've got all the algorithms stuff for localized searching. If you want to extend your search to say, I want to search more than just my knowledge base. And this is where my pagan stuff comes into, because I really believe in a natural language search, search syntax and grammar. I don't want to do anything with dashes in it and stuff. It all relates, and that's kind of that's not really an epiphany, but that's kind of the conclusion I'm coming to today, is that this stupid, over-engineered resume thing is turning into not just a career DB, but kind of like a life's work manager. And I know that feels like scope creep, but the fact of the matter is what it ends up doing is linking them all together. And that's a pretty big discovery for me. So I'm going to be focused on that. I do want to return to this article though. Communities haven't helped step 1 government, step 2 glossary. You won't believe how much people talk past each other because they have different meanings of the same term. And this is why it's so important. This is why Wikipedia's fail. They're a good tool in general, but Wikipedia's fail overwhelmingly to meet the needs of a single individual. And that's the difference. The difference is when you federate and you compose your own aggregations, somewhat like RSS, but bigger than that. RSS is just whatever your type lasts. We're talking about their knowledge base. It's like RSS, but not just their feed. It's everything they've ever captured and made public. All their notes, all their little knowledge nodes that they're keeping, and everything like that. And so now all of that data, all of that knowledge is centralized only for the individual in their own private way, or in their own way that they can manage. But if they choose to federate it, to put it out there for others can say, hey, I want to subscribe to you, and they can be notified of changes, and then they can download, to the extent they want, they can download the top level metadata and say, hey, oh, look at these things changed over here, right? And then they could go deeper and say, oh, wow, I want to know everything this person has to say. In fact, I want their full glossary index. It's a bigger file, but you can say, okay, I want to sync that file down. And so you can actually follow a certain number of individuals, and you could create your own Google replacement. The holy grail to me is to get the people that I want to follow to buy into this idea, because then when I go to a search, I don't even touch Google or Free Code Camp. Or Free DuckDuckGo, whatever. I don't, because the only people I need to know about are the ones in my circle. I have isolated all those people. I have maybe 100 or 200 people that are in my particular circle. I could even build a separate persona for myself if I wanted to, with a different one. And just like we do on Twitter, people do on Twitter all the time. And then I could search that, and it would search only that knowledge. It would search. I would say I only want to hear what these people have to say. And it's not even I only want to hear what these sites have to say. It's like I want to hear what this group, and it's very individual, and that's the difference. If you want to get an answer on Wikipedia, you go out to Wikipedia, and now you're fighting against 500-600 opinions on a single page with no consistency whatsoever. It serves a different purpose, by the way. The purpose of Wikipedia is to find consensus about the history of a thing, and that's not what you want. I don't want that. What I want is one or two or 10 or 100 people's specific opinions on a thing. So assuming that this were working, or we had an internet that had this, you would, Chomsky and everybody else, or all the other people, people who may be sharing, I want to be able to do a search against only the people that I want to search, much like you would do in a library. In fact, this has a lot of I imagine this has a lot of similarity to some of the library search systems that do exist already. But that's really what it is. It's a way to catalog, the knowledge of humanity's, knowledge workers, as well, to be able to search it, and combine that with our as much as we're making public about our life's work, or private, right? And so that visibility you grant depending on who's there and stuff. People, yeah, ruled by some sort of small collective voting. Yeah, it's horrible. It's horrible. It's often wrong. How many times have we found it to be wrong, right? Yeah, on Wikipedia enabled to yeah, Da Vinci, it was one of these guys. And look, the knowledge workers of the ages have been locked in their laboratories, and they've just been stuck doing their own thing, and they got away. They actually did this. So if you read some of them, they would correspond specifically with members of the inner circle who they trusted and they wanted to learn. And that's what I want. That's what I want. I want to be able to promote this sort of correspondence knowledge focus that can then be, leveraged quickly and keep up with the pace of the modern digital age. Started writing a book to train a few contractors and now I'm getting it ready to sell. Right. Wikipedia might be a good place. Plus the whole book publishing thing is a broken paradigm. It's completely broken. I mean, nostalgically, I love books. We all do. But when it comes to knowledge exchange, books are way, way too inefficient. And they might make money and stuff, and that's fine. You could take your knowledge base or elements of it and put it into a book. But the more likely scenario is that individuals in the knowledge economy the knowledge sharing economy are going to be paywalling certain parts of their content on their own terms without paying for a secondary party. And they're going to say, here, you can have access to this part of my knowledge. And this part is for free. But if you want my specialized knowledge, it's over here. It's going to cost you. And the subscription model is going to work much better than a book. The institution as it is, I mean, the book publishers and stuff are like oil companies. Eventually they're going to go away. They're just not going to be there anymore because the knowledge in a book, particularly in technical books, is just irrelevant. How many times have we run into something that's completely irrelevant in a book? But a Wikipedia has got a different problem. You got 100 authors fighting for whatever reason to have you read what they have. So I've talked about the advantages of a book and why I still use them in conjunction with fixing up the knowledge. But the problem is that there's no system. We're getting closer with like digital publishing and stuff like that, but there is actually no system for knowledge sharing that enables all of this. And whatever system we come up with, for sure, it would need to have the ability to put a paywall up on some of the higher premium content, so people can be paid for their knowledge. I mean, the knowledge that you collect and maintain, I do believe that you have a right to be paid for that. I'm not saying book authorship and writing for money is a bad thing. I do like the openness of it. I hope we move to a world eventually where the zero opportunity cost of this kind of stuff allows us to do so without too much consideration for the money involved. But yeah, we still have to pay the bills at some point. You always run into the issues of people gaming the system to boost their egos, and eventually the thing will turn into just Stack Overflow. I don't believe so. You know why? Because you can turn them off. That's the difference. See, the problem with all the centralized systems like this is that you can't turn them off. What I want to do is if somebody, all of the systems that exist right now, not a single one is based on trust. It's all based on popularity at best. And so popular opinions get upvoted in Stack Exchange, which are often totally dumb. Stuff makes it into Wikipedia because why? Because power and because influence and because at a higher level than Stack Exchange, everybody likes what's getting posted. I don't want that. I want people to have strong opinions. I want them to post those opinions unedited. I mean, unrestrained. I want the pure knowledge from somebody who doesn't have to fight to get their knowledge visible on Stack Exchange or fight to get their knowledge on Wikipedia. And if you violate my trust by saying something that's batshit crazy, I'm just going to remove you. You're gone. And it's not cancel culture, by the way, because they're still there. They're still producing. They can produce for anybody who buys into following them. The difference between that and cancel culture is that, cancel culture is like nobody should ever, no, they ban that person, right? They can't say anything. In fact, one of the dangers of a system like this is it is completely unfettered knowledge exchange, completely. And it's kind of like the blockchain Bitcoin. There's no blockchain involved, but it's like applying this you can't control it idea of Bitcoin to raw knowledge and to the information that you gather about your life's work in addition to your knowledge. So as knowledge workers become the norm even more and more knowledge workers are going to demand tools to manage all of this stuff. And they have really crappy tools right now. They really do. You think about it. How many people have fought over the best blogging engine, or don't even know how to use Git or GitHub, or who use Medium and all of a sudden have a fucking paywall put up. We do not have good solutions for individual, federated knowledge management and sharing. We just don't. Twitter kind of is out there for people. Twitter has many good things about it because you can follow and unfollow, but it's still centralized, and there's people that have control of it. Let's see. Is opinion knowledge? Absolutely. I totally believe opinion is knowledge. Yeah, the basis for all hypotheses is our opinions. So I want to hear people's opinions. That's the thing. If someone has a strong opinion, I want to know that. And I would rather hear someone's strong opinion and do my own critical thinking than depend on the critical thinking and argumentation of some particular person on Wikipedia. I still think that there's a room for this antagonistic publication of knowledge. That's what Wikipedia is. It's this very antagonistic situation. It's author versus author in Wikipedia with the intent of finding consensus, and that's fine. I just don't I want to be a participant in that. And in this case, Wikipedia and its tightly, managed community is the authority. And I want to make the decision about who the authorities are. I want to upvote certain authorities and I want to downvote certain authorities for me, not for everybody else. And that's the difference between that and what I'm conceiving in Stack Exchange. Stack Exchange and Stack Overflow allow the mob mentality to take over and decide what you see. And that is a fail in the greatest proportions. I just cannot say how big of a fail that is, because it doesn't allow the innovative, smothered voices to be heard at all. And what I want is I want to discover somebody who has 80 followers on Twitter, who, like Brian Ford, has no followers on Twitter. He's invented Peg, one of the most innovative things ever. Right? He's known to the academics and stuff, but if I discover him and I share him and his knowledge and I subscribe to him in general, we talked about that the other night too. I want to tell people like you and other people who maybe trust me a little bit, hey, look at this person I just found, and then we all follow that person, and now we're all directly influenced by that person, not through some fucking filter that the mob has decided we are going to see. People like that regularly post things to Wikipedia and Stack Exchange in the hopes of being able to push something out there. And what happens to them every time? There's a couple of them in the encryption. They just like, I'm done here. I'm not participating in this stupid fucking forum. And there's no alternative. So people who have these great ideas, we're not hearing from them. And and it's really sad. So if I find somebody who's not being published because for whatever reason, I want to be able to share that in a way and adding that person's knowledge to my own by, not assimilation, but by adding a line item that says these are the people I subscribe to, right? And then everybody who knows me can see who I subscribe to, and then all of those people can see who they subscribe to, And you see how the knowledge of trust, and you know what happens in a system like this? Because it's all based on trust, it completely eliminates the shit. Nobody will, because it's all managed by one human who's making a decision. And if 100 people think that so-and-so has something interesting to say, you can also say, well, gosh, I better at least think what this person has to say. So you look at their knowledge base, you follow them for a while, out of their knowledge base to yours, until there's something that they violate your trust, or they're like, well, okay, anytime I hear from that news source, that person is, this is another thing here. If we make this work, news itself would be altered because it wouldn't have to go through the news channels. Because some of our knowledge workers are journalists. Can you imagine being able to subscribe directly to a journalist without having to go through the organization that pays that journalist? That's a world I want to live in, and we're a long way from that, but that's really a world I want to live in. And we kind of have it in Twitter, but not, right? So they're still beholden to whoever's going to decide what to put on the television. But more and more, we have independent knowledge workers. You see this all the time during all these riots and stuff. You have these independent social media journalists. It's actually a problem because people are like, you're not a journalist, you're just on social media. Like, no, I'm a journalist. I have 100,000 followers, blah, 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 whatever. And they're being, I feel like you do 20 streams 24 hours. No, no. Hey, Enoch. Yeah. I could do hundreds of videos on real estate debunking wiki and Reddit posts that are just total crap. See what I'm saying? Look at me. I love that you are here on our community. The reason being because while you're interested in technology, you're coming at things from not necessarily from a technology point of view, and I love that. My wife is a good person to bounce these ideas off too. You're a knowledge worker. You're 100% knowledge worker who happens to be in X or Y industry, and that is what's happening. And whatever this is that I'm talking about, if we can make it, and I have some ideas about how we can make it, it's the antidote to the social engineering experiment. It really is, because it removes the centralization and the manipulation of our attention completely. It's completely obliterated. It has no place to blossom. You know what else it ruins? You know what it removes? Twitter fights and trolling. Because you're not following the trolls. The troll has got to create trust in order for you to follow them. Trolls prey on systems that allow everybody an equal voice. You don't want that. In this case, I don't want an equal voice. I'm not saying you can't have a voice. I'm saying I don't want to give a voice to anybody that I don't trust or that is not trusted by my peer group. And I know that sounds like an echo chamber, but that is a factor more of who you decide to trust and include into yours. And if I make a different persona, that's fine. I can eliminate that. I don't want to get all the trolls and everybody else in there. I don't want to have a Twitter fight. I want to hear from people who I find to be sane, critical thinkers. And yes, it's something of an echo chamber, but there's times when I don't want 10 sides to the story, and I certainly don't want the QAnon side of the story. But if I did, I could create a persona that had those things in it, much like, trolls and other people will create, whatever that other service is, create accounts over there. If one man decides that you violate some artificial rule system, bam, you're banned from all operations on Facebook. Exactly. So your single opinion on something on Facebook can ban you from all information exchanges. Unfair. And this is one area where I 1,000% agree with the radical right. I'm sorry, I just do. The radical right is all about, it's really crazy because I freaking hate Project Veritas, but he is promoting Proton Mail all the time, and I'm like, okay, I agree with that completely. Particularly since Gmail was down for how many hours today? So funny. I gained so much pleasure in watching Google fail. Google is like going down, baby. They're going down, and I want to be involved in the system that emerges out of all of this. That it does not control our attention and does not sell us to the highest bidder, because there will be a system. And whether I'm a participant in building that system or not is kind of irrelevant, because it will happen. The world is tired of centralized control of our attention. We're tired of it. And we're just now seeing all the dangers of it. That's how you know is when Netflix has a movie on it, right? It's gone mainstream at that point. Oh God, we're all being manipulated. And we're done with it. And the really cool thing is that humanity has invented a way to do, and if they're going to attack us at that point, then they're going to control what our network traffic is. But here's the thing. The system I'm conceiving of here is immune from network bans, because it doesn't matter how you get the data. If you make a system based on content and not connections, it's connections in the metaphorical sense, like I'm connected to you through your thoughts and stuff, but not I need to connect to a central server or even to the internet to get your ideas. And the other thing this does is it addresses like the half the world's population don't even have good internet. You get them a USB stick, download, a few knowledge bases from people that are trustworthy, and then they can make their own decisions. It bypasses all possible censorship. There's gonna be a lot of people who are not gonna want this, because all the people who are in power right now are not gonna want anything like, find your bubble and recognize it. And the difference though is that you're in the bubble. Can I just say that? The difference between being in your own echo chamber and creating and watching fair and balanced Fox News, I'll pick on them, or CNN. If CNN is just as notorious, I fucking hate them. If you watch them, right? They claim to not be an echo chamber, but they are. So if we can get people to critical think, they might put together their own echo chambers, but at least they'll know it. They're not going to, somebody's not going to lie to them like Russia and say, oh yeah, this is Pravda, the name of their newspaper, the truth, right? They're not going to manipulate them as much. There will be a lot of manipulation going on, and there will be people posing as, the trolls are going to have to work a lot harder. They'll still be trolls, but they'll have to get large amounts of people to trust them. You see what I mean? They'd have to get them to trust them, and then they'd have to bring them in. And if they start doing their troll shit and one person catches them, boom, they're blackballed and they're out of there. So it protects us from all of those things, and it's a fundamental system for knowledge management. Semi-argument for democracy is good. The system in theory is pretty good, but in reality you have something called average, many, and expertise few. Yeah. Well, at least you have the say, and that's really the thing. Cascade of credit. Yeah. I make my money in real estate, but I also love tech. I have Linux, Apple, and Windows here. Yeah. Society should be based on CEO credibility, effort, and opportunity. Oh, I love that. Credibility, effort, and opportunity. I completely agree. I totally completely agree. And there's no system on which to build that society right now. And so some of the ideas that have been coming across my head today, that originated with this resume thing, that were triggered by that, are that there are bigger systems that we need to start thinking about, that need to be thought of. And it's not just a new internet. That's not really it. Yeah, you just mentioned alternate reality. Yeah. Love to talk, and you did so many cool things. Oh, thanks, Anya. We have other things we'll be doing here, but that led to Russian model of democracy, where in fact only Zuckerberg alone decides what the rules are. Right. So the social media thing that's out there right now is the problem with it isn't so much Zuckerberg and those people, as much as I don't like them. It's the very nature of the system. It's just this. It's the same reason capitalism's so broken. It's the same stinking system. Even if you overthrow the system, you'll end up with it again, because that is the natural way of humanity. We will end up doing that. We'll end up making one of these centralized systems that somebody can control, because humans are all about power struggles. Ultimately, it kind of sucks, but but if you create a system that gives power to the individual, and I'm not just talking about, some Marxist idealism. I'm like saying, I want to give an equal voice to all people, but you just have to find those people, and that's the hard part. The hard part's going to be finding them, and then there's going to be people who are going to be exerting undue influence. I do wonder what some of the flaws in such a system would be, but it definitely isn't going to be, you can't pump up a knowledge base with words. You can't. Right now, there's so many ways to break SEO in Google. SEO in Google is one of the worst things humanity has ever invented. Yes, it's allowing us to search. I get it, right? But the idea that Google should be dictating what your search terms are is horrible. And my system, at least this idea, it's not just mine, but it centralizes on the idea that you control the search criteria. And the whole search process is much easier because we are using knowledge nodes that are in a particular that are written in a particular way, such that the semantics and priority, you can say, I want to search for everything in the header. I want to search for everything that's not in the header. You know what I mean? That the knowledge itself has got some more structure on it. And Tim Berners-Lee and a bunch of others tried this with the semantic web a little bit. And I think they totally failed. I mean, their architecture for that was just abysmal. It really was. It was really bad. It wasn't well executed, but it could have been pretty cool because it was too broad. So anyway, I want to revisit that. And you know what? If nothing comes of this, the best thing that will come of it is I will be wicked fast. I'll be even faster than I already am looking up stuff with links, at looking up my own notes, my own information, and the information of those who I trust, who participate in the system, who I can then subscribe to. And I imagine some of those people might be on the stream tonight. You know, that these are kind of people that I want to hear what you have to say, and I want to help you. It's basically networking on steroids. You know, and that's what it is. It's knowledge networking on steroids. Networking, and you know, not just for their core knowledge, but anyway. And let's see, one man decides how millions of people will interact. Yeah, this is ridiculous. Completely agree. At least they'll know it. At least they'll know it. You are hopelessly optimistic. This is turning into a social problem that tech won't fix. Well, that's kind of what I want to get out of the way. The problem is social, but one of the reasons it's a problem is because of the tech. We didn't have this problem before the tech existed that's manipulating our perceptions. We've always had propaganda. We've never had propaganda at this scale with this level of control. So you could argue that this is a social problem, definitely, but this is a problem that was brought on by tech, and this is a social problem that in some sense can be alleviated through tech, even though the core of the problem, I 100% agree, is just human nature. It's just human nature. It's like people say, well, why are they being manipulated? You know, when you have to watch the social engineering thing, because it talks about you're going up against some of the greatest minds of all time that are trained in controlling you through perceptions, and they have psychologists on this stuff. It's just not a fair fight, because but in a system where they can't participate, in a system where those people can't participate, or they could be called out on it, one person, you know, that's a different system. And that's something, right now we don't have any control of that at all. We don't have any visibility into it even. So the first thing that the system I'm proposing would bring is visibility and transparency in the whole system. Because you know everybody who's a participant. You can track who they are, where they came from. You're making the rules about who you see and what you don't see. You're making every single decision about that, because there is no central system. The only central system in any of this is just a registry for saying who exists, like a link. It's like, because most of the people are going to discover other people through word of mouth. They're going to say, oh, who does that person follow? I want to follow their people. Oh, who does that person follow? I want to follow their people. And then you can individually go through them all. And so taking away the centralization takes away the power for those that are manipulating us. And I really want to build it. 2 billion humans picked Facebook, Google, and Twitter to rule the world of tech because it was free. They picked Google because it was great to search, because there wasn't an alternative. The honest to God, the reason Google got so controlled is because there was no alternative. So what is MIM? My diploma was distributed knowledge sharing system based on peer distributed unsaid. You know, it's funny. I actually used some of those words that we're going to go through right now. On a model on bad communications between Mars robots. So I slowly close your point of view. Humans are experts in abusing a system. They really are, and they're mostly because they're cheap motherfuckers. They humans do not want to pay for anything. They just don't. they don't understand that, and they don't understand, you know, capital exchange. Capitalism is actually a big part of the problem, but I don't want to get political. Is not given it is granted, right? Thoughts about usage of a real name on the use of an anonymous identity of such a system. Well, I mean, that's a good point, right? I think you should be able to use such a system with anonymity. And we already do that, right? We do that with Twitter. I'm definitely not going to ask people to divulge. This is the problem with, like, whatever that alternative to Twitter is, right? They're trying to improve the quality of the system by forcing people to be their authentic selves, and at least then you can know that they really are who they say they are. The biggest weakness in a system such as the one that I'm suggesting is that certain people will follow other people just because, and even if they're anonymous, right? They would follow another anonymous account. The difference is that they're entirely traceable. So they'd have to have their own system for publishing. This is probably the biggest the biggest problem with this system is that the common person won't do it because it's going to require a service for them to use. And this is just a problem with the internet. And I don't know how to get around that part. I've still been trying to think about that, because if 90% of the people out there, not the techies, are going to be, okay, I want to participate. What do I do? What account do I have to create? What web page do I go to? What do I fill out? They're not going to want to maintain their own content on GitLab or GitHub. They're just not. And I recognize that. That's the biggest. This is the thing. I've already accepted that there's going to I'll probably hit a flaw in the thing that I'm thinking through, in the sense of how it doesn't relate to common people. So, or people who aren't technologists. At least as Markdown, right? Which is better than HTML. Because anytime you have, I don't know that we're ever going to get away from centralization. It bothers me, because there always has to be some pretty thing that people use. And the one thing I can't solve, the one problem I can't solve, and maybe you guys can think about this, is the technology barrier to entry to participate in a system. So the current system I've been building for myself is, you're storing all your knowledge in Markdown in an organized way, so you can search it and you put it up on GitLab or GitHub, and it auto generates into a website which you happen to host on Netlify. So it could host it anywhere, but it just happens to be on Netlify, which is also free, right? So if I were to ask my artistic, not autistic wife to do that, then what would be, book was released, and there was a LinkedIn pod people long before LinkedIn was a thing. Sphere of influence never intersected with yours. Is probably true, yeah. So the difference between identity and the collection of identifiers, yes, they really are. We use a shorthand for identity in most day-to-day interactions. People are already getting just for dumb. Yeah, they set on whatever. This comes into a bigger issue I've written a lot on. Most of the writing I've done on it has been deleted, though, about anonymity in general and whether it's a good thing or bad. Can you sum up solution of what you don't like about Google, Twitter, and Stack Overflow? Well, I kind of did there. I don't like centralized control and mob mentality. Google, Twitter, and Stack Overflow have total 100% control over what they want you to see. And they can say that they don't do anything all they want, and they're asking you to trust them. Meanwhile, they're selling your attention to somebody else, and something like LinkedIn won't even give you access to your own data. They give somebody else a complicated full API to all your data so they can index you and sell you to somebody else. But they won't even give you your own data. You can't even have access to the API because you will never be a partner. And that sort of thing is not going away. These people who sell you, you're the product. The people who sell you as a product, Twitter, Google, Stack Overflow, they do not care about you. They care about you as much as they care about the chickens and cows that are going to get slaughtered on the farm because they're going to sell it for the meat. That's all they care for, because they're going to make money off you. And no matter how much they tell you differently, they will always be driven by stockholders. They will always be driven by how much they can sell and improve and increase. And that will always mean selling your carcass in some way to something else. And that will never be fixed. There's never a way that's ever going to be fixed. We've got to, as long as there is a centralization of any kind, of that kind of system, people will buy into it and they'll still become the product. There's no way. I want to create a system that doesn't involve them at all. And I'm still just, I've got ideas about what that might look like, but the barrier is technical entry. Because as soon as, GitLab or GitHub, they've already controlled it, right? Well, if we say your knowledge base can live anywhere, it doesn't matter. Here's a couple of places where you can host your knowledge, but you have control of the knowledge. There's nobody saying you can't publish on this system because you're just hosting data, right? But then it gets dicey too, because Netlify has very specific instructions about what you can host on their service and not, and they've removed people's services. And GitHub has dropped things they disagreed with. I agreed with the disagreement on those things, but the idea that somebody in one of these centralized hosting services can say, no, you can't host your content here, that it's the centralization of a service to get on the internet. The on-ramp is always going to be controlled by somebody, and that is the hurdle I haven't been able to get around. I haven't been able to think about how to get around that yet. I'm still trying, but for right now, my solution is something on GitLab or GitHub that gets published to Netlify, and but I can fully control all the data, and other people can fully control their data, and then I can just link to their data and sub to their data and stuff like that. Professional at Facebook or LinkedIn pages. One of the companies I know used to pay me $300 a month just to post on their account, and they wrote it all in email to me, so I just copy and pasted 10 minutes. Are you kidding me? Recent Russian hacking. Oh yeah, it's all over the place. 300K personal conditional data, phones and addresses. Isn't it a link to not allow the ability to download your data? You can download your data. They just don't make it easy. So, but I tell you what, I've complained about this before. If I were paying LinkedIn, if all of us were paying LinkedIn directly, if we were the customer instead of the product, they would be bending over backwards to give us different ways to access our APIs. Why? Because they're not making money by sending us a link. This is documented in this social engineering thing. They're not making money by sending us a link to their site. They're making money by keeping us happy, which means they're going to tell us everything we need to know on that notification and the email without having to click on the fucking link. That's actually a known strategy, and they even bring it up in that documentary. They're like, we could tell you everything about this notification in this email we just sent you, but we don't. Because you're the product, we want to suck you in to our page, so you'll spend time on it, and then you'll get more eyes, and therefore we can sell your attention to somebody else. It's a horrible system, and all of them are built on it. And I'm gonna, I don't have to like it. I can do my own thing. So, didn't look into the specifics. By the way, they did. It was impressive. Oh right. 3,000K positive personal data is a mess. Yep, it is. It seems that written law is the only solution for centralized control as done in Google. Yeah, that is the see, this is another thing. This is very I don't know, techie of me. Yes, tech is not the answer, but you know what else is not the answer? Corrupt government. As long as we have crony capitalism in place with the amount of lobbying and money that's going on, no amount of regulation is ever going to work because the regulation is going to be corrupt. So I don't want to build a knowledge management system for myself that depends on trusting any government at all, ever. And a lot of the same feelings I have go for why people buy into the Bitcoin idea, which I wish somebody would reinvent blockchain. They would invent something that doesn't require the resources and all the flaws that blockchain has. Because if we could come up with a system like that, we need to start thinking about more ways to federate everything, to create federated. The internet itself is federated. It was invented by a bunch of people who wanted to share stuff without any, and it's still controlled and everything. But the very nature of TCP/IP allows us to have the internet, and the internet has, and for most intents and purposes, been an awesome thing. Because it's unfederated. I mean, it's changing. I know people are controlling the pipes and everything because oh God, we can't have a completely open and free internet. We can't. The world can't have that because all of the political influence and lobbying is now influencing anything that's federated. That's like sort of that sort of idea, and that doesn't stop us from making applications that use federated technologies, whether or not they use the internet at all. I mean, we were doing this kind of thing way before there was an internet. People were corresponding. They were sharing, writings with each other, which is where book burnings came in. Book burnings in those days were were the version of I'm going to, put a digital firewall, there. You can't hear anything this person or this country has to say, and it was the equivalent, right? Because knowledge was being exchanged through writing. And that was the only way. It was like one book or one, original Martin Luther, print of a thing would circle around through the whole entire village, very organically, and that it was kind of federated. I mean, it was kind of limited, because it wasn't digital. But we've been doing this. Humanity has been figuring out how to get around rather subversively the powers that be that are against their best interests forever. We've been doing this forever. So we just need a version of this that allows, lowers the bar for people to qualify as a knowledge worker and to share their knowledge, and encourages them to critical think. So I'll tell you what, if you're trying to decide who you want to follow and stuff, yes, you might just say, I want to follow the people I agree with, but when you do so, you're at least making a conscious decision that, and you're doing this on Twitter too, I guess, you're saying, I only want to follow the people I agree with. And you have to say, well, okay, I am literally signing off on not being a critical thinker. And you have to face that reality. I caught a Long Miles stream yesterday. It's very interesting. Last Miles, what was he doing? What was he talking about today? Yeah, but did you just see? Google just said they're going to delete all their stuff. And this is another thing that's leading me to this, okay? So Google just said they're going to delete it. I haven't had stuff on Google, anything on Google, but I got to go over there and see if my emails and pictures and photos are mine. And so this is why I keep saying we need to start creating systems that cater specifically to the owners of the knowledge, and that includes photos and stuff, so that, the ironic thing too is the whole system I'm talking about is if you were to abuse it by putting porn in it or something, and I'm not against it having porn in it, but if you were, you would end up with the network that you wanted to have, as opposed to, and then you'd have to deal with the hosting, right? So I know this is going to sound really weird, but if you want to make your knowledge work about porn, which, that's fine. That's up to you. I'm not suggesting you do it, but if you did do that, then it's up to you to find the hosting and all that stuff. And the less dependency we have on centralized services for that kind of thing, the more you can say, well, okay, so-and-so doesn't like what I'm hosting here. I'm going to go over here. And then they just say, they don't like you either. Okay, well, can I start my own server? Yeah. You go over here, you can put your own server, you can pay for your own bandwidth, and they don't care. So the reason that we have to bring the bar down about, and federate this stuff is, even though the solutions get more technical as more and more options are removed because you're violating whatever that hosting service. And so at the very highest level, you have like a Stack Exchange or a LinkedIn where they say everything that goes, and you can post everything like a Facebook, right? But if you kind of chop away the layers, you get down to, okay, I just have my knowledge base. And that's why I think that the tool that I'm working on needs to operate at the low level and say, here's how the data is stored. If you want to just write the data, you can, and just put it right here, right? Here are a couple tools to help you write that data. Where you put it is completely irrelevant, right? It just has to be on the internet connected to the network. And even then, if you can't do that, you can put the whole entire thing on a USB stick, plug it in, and copy it over into somebody else's thing. And now you've just, you've composed a knowledge base into another one. I'm not using Outlook, Gmail, and so on. Yes, you can get a single Google link to get all the confidential data because Google don't care. Yeah. Yeah, I can't even talk about it anymore. Google is a massive disaster. And I love that it's a disaster because everybody's finally seeing what a disaster it is. And it did do a lot of fantastic, amazing things. We learned a lot along the way. But there needs to be something rise from the ashes. I don't know what it'll be, but there needs to be something more than Google. We need to be able to, DuckDuckGo is like chomping on their heels. ProtonMail is destroying their Gmail subscriptions. The competitors are swooping in. They're saying, no, people don't want to be the product anymore. Which is really sad, because if Google would wake the fuck up and say, we're not going to make our business model off of having everybody be the product, if they could do that, they could turn that big behemoth ship around and do the right thing and stop being evil. But they won't. Because there's too much money in it. There's just too much money in it. Controlling perception, controlling privacy. I mean, there's just way too much power there to let go of. Learning Facebook or LinkedIn. I did not want to do it, so I told them the price, and I thought they would say no. But they said, okay, $300 a month. Yeah. I think the problem is advertising. I think it's crony capitalism, which is different than capitalism. It's an evil, corrupt form of capitalism. Government will do way worse than the tech companies. I agree with that too. It's very, very hard. It's like, it's good to have a king if the king is good, right? I don't think we should. I don't think humanity is ready to trust government. I'm not saying government is bad. We wouldn't have law and order without government, but we're still figuring government out. So a system like this, or whatever we're going to come up with, I think it needs to be independent of government in much the same way that Bitcoin came about. The reasons Bitcoin came about, and I'm not going to debate the tech with you, but the reason it exists is because they're like, no, we're sick of any control whatsoever. $200 million Obamacare website that crashed on day one, and no one could sign up for the same days. Yeah, so many errors, complete. Yeah, and then they formed a new business out of that. Yep, I actually thought about working there. It's called Ad Hoc, right? Actually, Greg told me about it. He was streaming movies for hours. You can't do that. All right, that's fine. What I want is a platform made specifically for opening scientific data and experiments. Yeah. See, this is what's funny. The people that agree with that statement, they are continuing to, think that they might want Gopher back, because Gopher is this very boring file system way of browsing information on the internet, and that's all they want. Now, I don't think we need that. I think we need something between that, and look, HTML is not bad. I really think Markdown is the one true way to share data. I really believe that. I don't think I've ever believed that, because it was invented by writers. It was invented by writers who wanted to exchange information and write stuff without having to know how to code. And I have a whole HTML was a mistake video, because it was defined by scientists. It's really complicated. It requires a browser. Markdown doesn't even require a browser to read it. The file by itself is totally digestible. And the more you eliminate the complexities, the more you eliminate dependencies on any particular technology, which always causes problems. So if you lived through the 90s, the dependency on a specific type of HTML caused massive fights in the lawsuits against Microsoft and everything. Because why? Because the complexity of HTML automatically required a dependency on a particular technology, which meant money and power. And as soon as the more you can simplify the base levels of your solution, the less it's dependent on all the people who are going to give you that thing, right? And that's really what it's about. Knowledge management should be a course in education. I totally agree. The problem is that there's not nobody even knows what Markdown is. Has anybody, raise your hand if you have ever learned officially how to do Markdown in any school class or course or curriculum? Every single person I've ever asked this question to, not a single one has even been mentioned about Markdown. And yet it is absolutely the most fundamental, most important way to manage knowledge. You heard about last stream. We're going to do a whole series on Pandoc Markdown after we do the HTML stuff. On Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, I will plug those. Everybody learns it themselves. This is probably the most important language you'll ever learn on planet Earth, that will enable you to exchange information and knowledge and to store it in a way that's versioned and safe and not dependent on some fucking Microsoft Word app. It allows you to have absolute independence. Your knowledge is independent and it's versioned and all that stuff. And all of those advantages are all the reason you'll never learn about it. because nobody wants you to learn something that doesn't have to make you, but I have an open source repo, so I have had to learn to use it. Right. The last king of Thailand was awesome, but the parliament runs most everything. Yeah, 12th coup versus pilot versus the kings. Yeah. Because GitHub technically works, but it is not built for large databases. Right. They have non-standard data types such as DNA and astronomy stuff. This is true. There's actually people who have done some work in that front for representing those things as text. You probably know some of them. I don't know what you're all worried about. Oracle is going to save the day, of course. Before or after they moved to Austin from Silicon Valley, I got in contact searching for an alternative for LaTeX. There you go. Yeah. And people are writing documents. The thing I find so fascinating about the Markdown phenomenon, we're going to talk about this for an entire series. So it's just kind of a precursor to that, is that it was entirely written by bloggers. They're like, we want this. Gruber Actually, Aaron Swartz was one of the contributors to it, which doesn't surprise me at all because, in the name of Aaron, he was literally killed by the government for attacking all of these institutions that control our knowledge. That's exactly his mission in life, was to attack all the institutions that are hiding our knowledge, not illegally, but they're holding a stranglehold on knowledge. Knowledge that's free, by the way, that's legally free to own, but you can't get it unless you pay such and such a corporation $500 to be able to see it. We have so many. The thing that's cool about this is if we could actually get this federation of knowledge kind of thing off the ground, this idea, however it takes form, we've first of all we've perpetuated the spirit of Aaron Swartz, which is liberating knowledge, period. And Wikipedia's do come close to that, but as I've said, the antagonism involved in Wikipedia is the downside. So there's still some more work to do there. Debate in government is often about fact, but they ignore how their facts are derived. That's the cause of the science war. Yeah, and actually science has got its own problems, right? Because it's not sexy to do validation studies against the original studies. So very few legitimate organizations will take up the task of doing a confirmation of a study that makes the news. And so we end up with science that hasn't been validated. Where is Markdown widely used? Academia, publishing. A lot of textbooks are written in Markdown. Novels these days. Discord, Reddit, Stack Exchange. Any place you're writing more than a paragraph, or you're using formatting. GitLab, GitHub. Since we're talking about it, if you want to go read about it, I have a write-up on this. rvx.gg/lang/md. That's the basis of I call it the syntax of knowledge. That's what I call it. You're Ty, and you're right. Wow. Yeah. LaTeX integrated to Markdown as an extension. Yes, Markdown extensions can cover anything. You can generate graphics from Markdown also and write programs for visuals. Yes. And part of the problem with that is because it was invented by writers, it hasn't been properly specified. And that, if you guys want to know why it's taking me so long to do this, because it hasn't been properly specified, we can't agree on the best version of Markdown. So there's 1,000 different versions and extensions for Markdown, which is defeating the purpose of a centralized system. I mean, not a centralized system, but of a decentralized system where stuff can actually communicate. It's basically yeah. And so we have a problem there because we need to figure that out. Now, I happen to think that Pandoc Markdown is the one true Markdown because it's the only Markdown that allows you to embed math. And if you can't embed math, you haven't created a universal knowledge syntax, period. And the way they do that is LaTeX, and LaTeX is I overwhelmingly believe, and there's lots of people who confirm this, that LaTeX is the syntax of math, the digital syntax of math. And it's, you have to break things down into their lowest common denominator parts at this point, because if you're going to have something that everybody can agree on to share with, you have to break it down in that way. And if you go to, actually I wrote another one, so because even Markdown is kind of all over the board. So I made another one called Basic, and this is just the minimum you need to know to do Markdown. That'll work everywhere. Work in Discord. No, the RFCs Markdown. There's no W3C. There's no RFCs. JGM's done the most work on this. Yeah, he's the guy who made Pandoc. He's out of Berkeley. He's really great. If you want to follow the Pandoc thing, and again, this is kind of a precursor to the series on Pandoc. We're going to do a short series on Pandoc Markdown. Is some ways away. What do I think of the whole Wolfram thing, the Graphy thing? I think it's irrelevant, frankly. I think there might be some stuff in there that I could learn from in terms of the federation of knowledge. The whole a lot of the graph theory stuff in there I think would really directly relate to the federation of knowledge, but you don't have to understand that graph theory in order to know if I figure out a way to host knowledge in a universal format that is easy for everyone to use, that it'll just work. So I don't have to get into the details of that. If anything, So there might be something I'm missing there, and just like anything, I'm open to receiving more knowledge. But it is rather unfortunate that there are no standards for Markdown. There's not a single the closest standard to the Markdown. Well, okay, that's not fair. Pandoc has been so. I'm doing my other series already, so I'll just give you the short version. The guy who made Pandoc, JGM John. I forget his last name. They call him JGM. It's his initials. He organized and spearheaded several RFC postings about what Markdown is out there, but not specifying it. And he spearheaded the effort to create Common Mark, which you've probably heard of. But the Common Mark mailing list is probably the most avid of all of them. And you can see what they're all doing out there, and you can share. And GitHub flavored Markdown is an extension of Common Mark. Pandoc is its own extension of it. And there's just been such overwhelming dissension about how to do things like tables and stuff that were never part of the original spec that it's been really a problem. But the Common Mark specification is a real huge step forward, because there's many things that this writer made, John Gruber, that are not specified at all. And there's many. The problem with that with a writer making something is they don't make things. They make things that are not specified. You use 3 spaces or 1 to get or 4 and that kind of thing. So there's a lot of, and JGM talks about that a lot on the Pandoc page. Why Pandoc, why Common Mark needed to exist. What's the profile? Right. It was brittle as hell. Markdown is the thing. Yeah. It was also the biggest evolution in Markdown, I believe, is the move away from HTML as the target result format. I think that's probably the biggest significant change. And Pandoc was really that. That meant that you could Pandoc says, okay, my targets are going to be HTML or LaTeX or Word or PDF or whatever. And by the way that's accomplished is they break all this stuff down into an abstract syntax tree that then gets re-rendered out, and that's where my pagan project comes from. That's where all that comes from, because I believe that the abstract syntax tree of Pandoc is wanting. I don't believe it's enough, and I also believe that the way that they parse Pandoc is overly complex, and a big element of what I'm making is Mimmark, which is a 100% compatible version of Pandoc, Markdown and Common Mark, which just can be resolved in one pass. And none of this stuff is going to work unless we can agree on a standard that is not HTML. Because you know why? Because HTML is not, as much as people try to make it so, HTML allowing div tags and shit like that has lost its ability to be semantic. You cannot judge the type of information that's being communicated in HTML in any way, because nobody is using any of the stuff that was invented to say, okay, this is a title, this is a table. I mean, how many people are using divs for tables? It doesn't even render properly, let alone can you detect that this is a table. So if I wanted to search, say, I want to search for all tables that have the word speed limit in them, you can't do it. You can't do that on the internet right now. Because we have just thumbed our nose at basic things. This is why I get so bent out of shape when people destroy the World Wide Web. The thing that we had that was based on semantics in the beginning, or using grid, right? There's just so many ways that people keep thinking that the World Wide Web should be just a big PDF document or a big app. And they've destroyed the notion of semantic documentation that it was built on. And this is why we need a new system, because the one that's there now sucks. It sucks so bad. I mean, and I'm not the only one saying this. You can go search for why the web sucks so bad. Because we haven't put any constraints in place, because it's more about Flash and photos and blink tags. The first time somebody added a blink tag and a marquee tag, the whole thing went to shit. Because it wasn't about knowledge anymore. It was about Flash and presentation and magazine style approach. And I'm not against any of those things. The problem is that we paid for it with the ability to share knowledge in a reliable way. And that really pisses me off. And so every time I see somebody make a React documentation site like Cargo, where I can't even read about the Cargo files unless I have React installed, I lose my shit because they're literally destroying the world's ability to share knowledge with each other. And I get very upset about that. I talk about that a lot, but I can't stop. Universal Markdown syntax will be created at some point. They're trying really hard, but they're right now they don't care. So there's been a lot of work on this. I think one of the reasons that I'm going to justify the statement about Pandoc being the overall leader is because the entire R language adopted Pandoc as its official documentation format. And there's a bunch of competing documentation formats, by the way. There's still, Perl Pod was even a thing for a while. There's the Python one, but I truly believe Pandoc Markdown is king. I think it's amazing, and it's clearly been created by somebody who's thought about all the implications. And he's done a lot of thinking. He's a very diplomatic person for an academic. He works at Berkeley. He's pretty damn diplomatic. Given all the conflict the fact that he brought GitHub and all these other players to the table and said, hey, let's come up with a markdown we can agree on here because we're all going in different directions, that just says volumes about the dude who invented Pandoc. It's the main reason that I'm behind Pandoc as a thing, and it will remain so. I don't want MimMark to be a yet another stream of tangent off that. What I want is I want to make a subset of the Pandoc standard that allows me to parse the whole thing in one pass, in line. Right now, all Markdown requires 2 passes to parse it because it requires you have to be able to provide information at the bottom of the file. It's like a JSON file. You have to parse the whole thing to get any of it. You can't just parse one at a time as you go, and that really annoys me. It slows down parsing. It also has a butt ugly AST. It's the only AST, but it's the only one. And I made Pagan specifically to create my own version, a subset of Pandoc Markdown that I can parse in ways that I want and produce an AST that I want. And that's my Pagan project. So if you want to read about that, that's pagan.dev, which I love that it's Pagan because Mim is the Norse god of knowledge. Mimir. How's it going, Og? I strongly believe Universal Markdown says, yeah, I hope so too. HTML was 30 years ago. It was dependent on render capabilities. Yes. Here's the thing. It's funny. Somebody suggested it in the stream the other day, and I just shook my head. I'm like, well, duh. We need to make browsers and stuff that run off of Markdown. And but first of all, we have to define what Markdown is that we're going to use. And I really, truly want to make this. This is, if I ever give a TED Talk, that's what it would be. It'd be introducing a new reader that only reads Markdown. It only reads MimMark, which is a subset of Pandoc. And it doesn't even use HTML conversion at all. That's it. And then, you can see my early specifications of something like that in my Essential Web Docs that I wrote like in 2015. Because it was, the original idea for this was called the Essential Web. It was just, is basically stripping off all the stuff, the readers, and just sticking with the knowledge and simplified raster images and things like that, and putting limitations, many of the same limitations that Medium makes money on by forcing on people. It's the craziest shit. I talked about that yesterday. I can't get over it. Medium makes money off of telling people what they can't use and basically telling them all you get is less than what the original HTML spec provided. And people want it so bad because they want the simplicity and be able to read the knowledge. They just want the knowledge that they're literally paying them for the original internet web design. It's just crazy. Is Gemini the writing pad? I don't know. Too many people trying to reinvent the wheel in their own view, or make it into a square triangle. I agree. But that's also the source of innovation, right? People tell me, well, why are you doing this? Why even try? Why don't you just use wikis and just call it a day? I mean, why don't you just be happy with what you have? I'm like, because the world around me is crumbling and good knowledge is hard to find, and I'm sick and tired of it, and I can't even find my own knowledge, so I'm going to make something. You have fun playing Fortnite. It's like, there's so many things that we need to do in this world that need to be done, and it bothers me to no end that people find a way to check out and not help. HTML for web apps and Markdown documentation. I agree. I agree 100%. I agree 100% with that. There should be a standard for Markdown. They already have readers. So Safari, this is a story about this. Safari put an entire company out of business by taking their reader tech and putting in Safari. So there's reader mode in Google. Google, all the browsers, they kind of like, do a head nod to this idea of reader mode. But fundamentally, they want to control you, and they I don't want that. I don't want that. Think plus creativity, yeah. A one-way parser, yeah. Oh, they have one already? What's LL? I don't know about that one yet. Yeah, right now there's Markdown is 2 passes. HTML, 2 passes. Actually, HTML you can kind of pull off rendering as you go. It depends on what you're doing. But a 1-pass Markdown would be totally doable. Not only that, it would be, you could do it within memory constraints. Yeah, I wrote a whole thing once upon a time for that kind of thing. Let's see, could be too much machine readability, not a risk for some knowledge working fields. Some people are scared to be substituted by an AI. I don't know about that. I don't think people give it that much thought. If people give it that much thought, they wouldn't even sign up for Facebook. That they're self-interested. They don't care as long as they can share their dog pictures. I agree, but when everyone goes off in their own direction, then there isn't a standard that people follow. Yeah, it's this classic. It's the classic. What is that cartoon? Oh, hey, look, I'm going to make a standard. Oh, now we have 13 standards, right? I agree with that, but I also disagree that there's an existing standard for this kind of stuff. I don't think there's anything. I can do this browser, right? You could make the browser? Yeah. You like to make a nice work. Thank you. Have you come across Gemini? I have not. Is the protocol is an alternative HTTP? I imagine there's going to be a lot of them that are going to pop up. And because right now, the things that I'm talking about are not unknown. There are a lot of people that are having these questions. The question is, I obviously need to research Gemini and see how it's doing. I would love to put my weight behind something that already exists. The one thing that I don't think is going to happen, though, that's kind of novel in all of this, is the combination of the knowledge management, this overarching idea that brought me to do this stream in the first place today. It's this overarching knowledge and the management of your own knowledge and exchange of your own knowledge with other things. Every time you hear about some innovation on this front, it's always like this new site or this new protocol, or there's no one thinking in terms of what does a knowledge worker need today. They're not thinking about creating solutions for knowledge workers. They're thinking about all of the little pieces of tech that are going to be a part of that thing, and preferably the ones they can sell. And there's no one advocate for how all the pieces come together, and I think that needs to be a community effort, and it's going to have to come forward from, something like a loose association of knowledge workers. I gotta write that down. That might be the thing we need to do. We may need to just organize. If I don't know of any association of knowledge workers of any kind, and I think that in our modern economy, we need this. More and more the knowledge workers are becoming the middle class, and they're not organized. Are there any labor unions for knowledge workers anywhere? I've never heard of one. So the needs and wants and interests of knowledge workers are not being represented by any common organization that I'm aware of currently. And I'm writing a thing down because maybe that's the thing we need to do, is we need to actually put together an association and work on this. Which is that you are solving with pagan and knowledge world. Yeah. The only way to popularize a certain standard is to provide more support for it. Yes, not related to the standard, but it matches the story of how Python became super pop. Yeah, I agree. I'm playing Cyberpunk 2077. Yeah, I know, that's fine. My stepson is. I couldn't stand it. I looked at it. I was like, oh, I like the music a lot, but HTML is 2 passes is a 2-pass engine. Is it? Huh. Oh God. See, that's what I'm talking about. Why? Why did they have to do that? They totally ruin a simple thing. And then now you can't even read the words on the page unless you have JavaScript. It's like the ultimate shitting on the original design of the internet, of the World Wide Web. specifically, and they don't even care. This is why when I run into people who call themselves web developers and they destroy the web as it was created, I want to fucking punch him in the face. I'm so upset because, and it's not just some old crony guy. It's because you are actively participating in the destruction of the web as it was invented and all of its purposes. And most of the time they don't know better. So I kind of calm down. I'm like, you realize that Pizza Hut lost a lawsuit because of the kind of website you're making right now. Nobody can read it. Blind people can't read it. Anybody who doesn't have JavaScript enabled can't read it. Oh, that's fine. They don't matter. That makes me angry. That makes me want to punch you. As the DOM allows external script, I need to calm down. So I'll drink coffee. I wish I could spike it with something. Do we have anything? Let me think here. I have some scotch hanging somewhere. Create GitHub project will be brainstormed there. I think we should. I think you know what? This is what I'm going to do here. Okay, so the Mim project is one thing, but what I want to do is something bigger than that, because I want to get the input not just from my great stream of people, but I want to get the input from knowledge workers. I want to get the input from all workers, and this one of the missions of such an association would be to identify people who don't, and maybe evangelize and say, hey, you might not think you're a knowledge worker. Do you use social media? And they'll be like, yeah, like you're a knowledge worker. The knowledge that you have is perhaps related to art or something. Maybe it's more photographic, but it is knowledge worker. And basically, but I would want knowledge in the name. Solve the problem. I think a problem for knowledge worker, but I am trying to solve different aspect of the problem is the biggest goal right now. Absolutely. Absolutely. And knowledge workers is just, I mean, if we're going to form a union, which is kind of what this is, there are unions for university faculty, right? The thing, nobody is looking out for these people for us. No one is. There's like no associations. Like, you'll fend for yourself. You're smart. You'll figure it out. And there's no anything. HTML, you can delete document completely using JavaScript. This is nonsense. Yes, believe me, I don't want to talk about that. We gotta not talk about. Look, I love JavaScript. I did an entire hour about how come I love. By the way, just to be in fairness, the JavaScript way, go get it, read it. You want to learn JavaScript? That's the best way to learn JavaScript as a beginner, hands down. Best thing I've ever come across. The JavaScript way, the JS way. It's a free PDF you can download, or you can support Baptiste with that. He's a French guy who wrote it, which I think is actually good because he wrote it in English, which meant that his language is very succinct. It's a great resource. I cannot overstate that. It's very hard for me to, people hear me rant and trash things all the time, but I want you to know that when I come across something that's awesome, I have no problem giving it equal amount of praise. And the JS way is freaking awesome. I mean, it is just amazing. So let's see. I view web developers like, it was written last year, by the way. I view web developers like I view game developers nowadays. They don't care at the end of the user. They don't. But here's the thing: is it malicious or not? That's the question. They just want to put something out there that looks flashy and get hype. Yeah. Basically, HTML5 turned all of the Flash ActiveScript developers into web developers, and so now we have the whole Flash community and the web community are one now, and it is what it is. Some newspapers have a paywall and they just put a CSS layer on top of it so you can't read the page they pay. Yeah, use the links browser, go to the text, and you don't have to worry. I do it all the time. The problem I'm solving is sharing of knowledge with the least friction. I think of it as notes that can be understood to reuse by anyone. Exactly, and that's exactly what my goal is as well. So I think our goals are one and the same. Everybody is solving this a little bit differently, and I encourage you to figure out a way that you would solve it. And one of the things I like about the Association of Knowledge Workers is we could bring our individual solutions. We can all go to our laboratories like in the old days, like the 1800s, right? Where everybody would go to the thing and they would come together and they would share their work. Or we could, like that's how the PC was created. A bunch of really geeky, electrical engineers got together at the homebrew club to share what they had done, right? And they got to be able to share that all, and that's how we got personal computers. if we all go to our own corners and figure out this problem, how are you taking care of your notes? How have you figured out how to share your notes? How have you figured out which markdown do you like better? Which, if we had an association that was a bunch of people that are primarily knowledge workers working on these things and then coming together and sharing their results, we could have a convention. We could have a convention for the knowledge worker convention. That just gave me goosebumps. That's when I was Mormon, I would have to say that's the Spirit telling me I need to do it. Back in the day, when I would have a feeling like that, we need to do that. I don't know how or when or where. I'm going to make that happen. Yep. We're going to have an Association of Knowledge Workers convention. That's what we're going to have. I'm going to make that. In the name of Aaron Schwartz. Aaron Schwartz shall be our honorary figurehead. CSS grades websites and nightmare. Oh my God, yes. Doing programs on language I do not know for systems I do not understand with requirements I do have not met. The insane work called programming. Yep. We need to build an IWW again. What is that? I don't know what that is. I also want Markdown to be able to run completely independent of DS. Here's the thing. If we created an association of knowledge workers, we could have people like JGM from Pandog come speak at the convention. And then I guarantee you, you'd have teachers and people from school districts coming to it, and it would cross-seed itself, and then you'd have people be like, I didn't know Pandoc existed, oh my God, and now it would become a part of the curriculum. You see what I'm saying? I mean, it could have legs. It could have legs. And the other thing too is it's a wide enough audience that it would probably fund itself because, so many people consider themselves a knowledge worker. And I'm not in this for the money, of course. I would just I'm going to do this. I mean, I came into this making Mimir as a tool and everything, but what the real thing that I want is to attack head on the problem that we face with, and you know what? If we create an association like that, that'll bludgeon the fuck out of Google and Facebook into doing the right thing, because we won't let them talk. They'll try to come have representatives that are thing. It's like, no, you can't come here. You're not a knowledge worker. You're a marketer. You're using everybody in this room as a product. You don't get to talk here. Sorry. What do you think if you don't know JavaScript? Stop asking me that question. Do not read it. Throw it in the trash. Don't read it. Definitely don't dare pay for it. If you're going to read that book, make sure it's the last one you read. All right? That's all I have to say about that. I can share my idea with yours, but it will be too long here. I will write article on it. Yes, please. This is what I'm talking about. If we can create an informal association, we've already started the knowledge network process. Now, the problem is that the way you write your notes and the way I write my notes are going to be incompatible. But as long as we stick with Markdown and put them in a Git repo for now, we can collaboratively create a better system for that. It doesn't have to be my system. It doesn't even have to be named Mim. I don't care. I just want a system for us to collaborate as knowledge workers for the Knowledge Worker Association. And whatever the tool is that we come up with, it's not owned by anybody. I'm more excited by the idea of us organizing than I am by creating the tool. And I started this stream by about how to make a tool. I think the tool is a solution, but harking on what somebody said here, the solution here is not necessarily another tool. I think the solution here is in the spirit of Aaron Schwartz is organizing ourselves, and it's becoming heard by the industry that's all screwed up, and yeah, it certainly does involve tools that are beneficial to everybody in the group. So I can't get off that idea now. I'm kind of stuck on it. Integration of a rating system for knowledge like Thumb Up planned. Yes. So the current, this is something for conversation, but in my particular view of this is that there is no, the knowledge stands on its own. There's no thumb up. The thumb up on a thing is your own. Okay, so first of all, you follow a certain number of people, right? And so your rankings for their knowledge, the first way that you thumb up a thing is you actually follow somebody. So somebody follows you and they're like, oh, I want to follow that person too because this person trusts that person. So you follow me, you're going to actually automatically follow, Brian Ford, TJ Hollowaychuk, Rob Pike, a bunch of real key authorities in the industry on things that I'm interested in. And they all have their own tags and their own, summaries that you can go get from their own knowledge sources, from their knowledge bases, their, Mim base or whatever. And so that is the first thumbs up. And by the same token, in my current system, there's a thumbs down. So if you want to blacklist somebody, you can. If you want to, in your same subscription page, it's like everybody has it in their base of their knowledge base. If you want to put a minus next to somebody, you can blackball somebody in the thing. So you can vote them up or down. You can say, you should follow this person. I do. And then somebody else can say, oh, you should not follow that person, and put them and take that down. But the really important thing is that everybody only gets one vote, right? Everybody just gets one vote. So if you follow, and I've talked about this is something, it was in Homebrew Club, Computer Club, or coding notes in a personal WordPress. I need something better. Yeah, how many people do? This is my problem. All these knowledge workers are going through the same hassle. We don't have the solution for them, and we need one. So we could still talk about voting up. There's a way that you could say, I follow this person, and by the way, to me, they're a 10 priority. To me, this person is a 6 priority. Do you know what I mean? I think that something like that would be okay, and that's akin to like claps and Medium. But it would be for an entire person. Like, I really trust this person. I think we probably need to add that, because we would want to prioritize certain people that we subscribe to. If I subscribe to your knowledge base, if I subscribe to 3 people's knowledge bases, and somebody is I give them a rank higher than the other people in my trust document, my subscribe document, I want to see results from them before anything else. And again, one of the fundamental pieces of this whole thing is a GitHub repository, yes, or a GitLab repository, it doesn't matter. And but it ultimately is a website. It's a URL. That's how every knowledge base has a URL. And every knowledge base is identified by having a readme.md file at the top level. And if you want to read about this, I've written all about this. This stuff is all in my KN tool. It's renamed. I have to rename it. Let me see if I can go find it right now. It's still, I keep getting distracted from it, so it's not pretty, but GitLab.com, RBX Rob. Slash, oh gosh, is it KN? I think it might be just knowledge. Yeah, I've gone back and forth about what I'm going to name this. Did I no, I think I might have named it. Oh no, there it is. So here it is, KN. Oh, this is just the reference model. This is a different thing. I honestly don't remember where it is. I think it might be. I don't remember. This is the one that Og was working on it with me. Would the vote be changeable? Of course, but you're the only one who gets to change it, right? Yeah, no, that's the thing. You're in total control, Og. So, do you know what I mean? You are in control of your at all times. It's just how you write it in the file. You know what I mean? It's not like Stack Overflow, because Stack Overflow, you all have to see everybody else's rankings. In this system, you only see the rankings of other people you have actively followed. I don't think that's it though. I don't think that's the one. I think that's my old one. Is it? Oh, right. rbx.gg/can. Yeah, I mean, I don't think this is it, man. Oh, right. Oh, yeah. This is old, but yeah. This is I've got like so many versions of this. If you go on GitHub, I have another thing called Essential Web. But this is one of the reasons why having an association would really be helpful. Because we could make, I love SourceHut until I didn't. It can't be abused because you control it. You control it. That's the thing. You are in total 100% control of your search criteria, of who you follow. You're the first person who get pissed off with the same passion as me. Who said that? I missed it. Yeah, I just would the votes be changeable? Yeah, yes, it said that. Likes that. No, not Stack Overflow at all. These are all just pieces of it. If someone will do HTML pages immutable version without JS based on event streaming where streams of changes will be blowing your mind in such different version of HTML. Yeah, wouldn't that be great? Nobody's thinking of it though because they're not incented by it. There's no money in it. And this is where open source really shines. You know, Linux, the creation of Linux was in it for the long haul. Look at how phenomenally awesome Linux has changed our world at every level. But look how long it took, because it was a community movement, and it took time, and it took the creation of different foundations and associations before Linux had the pull in the corporate world and other, you know, even government and education, so that it kind of got adopted and then it influenced society completely. So that's why I think I'm so into this idea of an association for knowledge workers, because if we can actually come together and say, here are my problems that nobody is fixing because it's not profitable, we would have a voice, much like a labor union. It really is a lot like a labor union. It's like, you know, I can't do my job. My job could be done better if X and such, you know, were a thing, and we can create tools or innovations in the society, and you can bet that we're going to get government officials and people to buy into that kind of idea, because we have to avoid corruption, right? Because knowledge workers are the future of our economy, and catering to the needs and specifically the needs of knowledge workers is going to become in vogue at some point. And it could be, you know, did you find? Oh, that's a good one too. You know, it could be that there's already something out there, and if there is, somebody let me know, please, right away, because as you said, as I've said over and over again, I'm not particularly interested in making something if it already exists. But if it doesn't exist, I'm all about that. Or if something exists that's kind of broken, I'm okay making a new version. That's why I love open source so much, right? The Pandoc, for example, the Vim Pandoc plugin doesn't have smart quotes, and the guy who maintains it, no hard feelings, is, you know, kind of a jerk, and so I forked it, did it myself. It's like, this is my copy now. The end. Principle I follow. Let's see. 4 notes should be able to version control. Yes, completely. 5 flow of notes should have no assumption in writing style. Completely agree. All of these are fun. It's really great to hear from you, because those are I keep finding that there is this like common need, and when someone else actually takes the time to write down these things, they're almost in complete agreement, no matter where they come from. And I just happen to have been, you know, spitballing with a group of pros. I call them my pros at SkillStack. You know, and we came up with Essential Web in 2014, and it was fundamentally based on this, the plight of knowledge workers and how they share their knowledge. And it came about because, you know, a lot of people were taking notes. One of my students was taking all their science notes and chemistry notes, and they wanted notation, so they started using Pandoc for that. So we debated whether we should have LaTeX or some form of mathematical notation at all. The thing that's really great about that is, to this day, his notes are every bit as good as a textbook. It is insane. So he's gotten so good at just taking random notes in Markdown with like KTech or whatever, you know, the version LaTeX, that he can write full mathematical equations faster than scribbling them out, and they look like a textbook when they're rendered. It's just insane. So, you know, and in our age of data science, we definitely have to have support for that. And Markdown, of course, doesn't support that, but Pandoc does. Pandoc Markdown does. I think Pandoc Markdown supports it the most elegantly of all of the languages. We need to have a manifest. This is true. We need to have a manifest. What does it say? I need to read that. That contains the location of all projects and people. Yeah, that's called mim.directory. I already registered it. No, that's absolutely. You and it needs. Yeah, we obviously. So I called that the directory, and I actually already registered mim.directory, and readme.world, right? So the thing about that is all it has to be is a URL. That's it. It does not have to be anything more than that, because people should be getting their information from other people. But if they need to be seeded, with an initial set, we give them one sentence, and then because otherwise we're going to end up centralized, and I don't want that. I want people to be able to put directories anywhere. Anybody can fire up their own directory listing anywhere and say, okay, I want to follow these people and this person. But here's the really cool thing. Because it's federated, every single person participating is their own directory. They are it is literally a manifest. In fact, call the file a manifest. Each manifest has the people that they follow already in it. Am I a libertarian? I don't know what that means these days. I don't know what I am. I honestly don't. I still want to compile a manifest of everyone's blogs and knowledge. Yes. But see, that's the thing. That is a part of your list. Yeah. A directory is a catalog interface. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, all it has to be is just like one line. Here are the people I follow. Right. And then all that other stuff can be, I don't want to get into, you have to register for this thing and blah, blah, blah. The other side of this, by the way, is the problem of, if you allow anyone to enter stuff into there, they will, and they'll abuse the system. And the only way to police such a system is to have people to be able to downvote. So if enough people like blacklist or downvote something, then other people can go to the people they trust and say, oh, hey, this thing came across my feed in my registry. I'm going to check it against my trust network and see if I want to use it or not. And so the system polices itself, and that's the essence of federation. We don't want to get in the business of removing things. In fact, that's why I don't really want to do anything with mim.directory except for if someone says add my URL, add a URL. The end. The only criteria is the URL has to exist. And it has to have a mim directory in it. That is it. Every other decision about whether you keep it or follow it or anything is made by you and not by some algorithm that's on the directory. Because I don't want to get into that business at all. Let's see. I need to stop. I just realized it would be too long. I keep going. You know what, Anak, you should write a blog or what I call a note. And just... custom, you send us links to your stuff. In fact, I'm starting to create a list of people that I want to follow, and that includes all of you. So what I want to start doing is I want to start entertaining ways that I can experiment with how I can maintain all this data. And I've already documented all that. He sent the link, and I can start adding you guys to it. And then we can just kind of evolve as we go. I'm not going to have all the ideas here for sure. There's one piece of info I want, but I can't seem to find how to get the fans to control my new laptop using Manjaro. I don't know, man. You said a dirty word. Manjaro. Council of JavaScript gurus who met and issued directives on how to make websites, headed by Brendan Eicher. Don't misread me. Those are not. Brendan Eicher is both of them are not people I hate. Let's put it that way. They're not people I would drink a beer with, but they're people I hate either. What does it mean to do my job better in the context of a current economic system? More efficiently. This is defined by however you define doing it. You're just being more efficient that's okay. That's actually part of what I want to come back to. So the work thing that's built on the resume thing is more about you establishing what your own career goals are, and I want to get to that. I haven't gotten there yet. God, it's 3:00 already. This is what happens when I live stream. But I tell you what we're doing right now is far more valuable to me than you watching me write a lot of code, because I can write code on my own and I will. But having this conversation is so valuable to me, and I'm doing this for myself because I'm not getting paid for it. So I'm gonna tap all y'all's brains here. I think the word you were looking for earlier was Zettelkasten. Yes, that's the one. Thank you, Copter Zero. That's exactly what it was. And that the idea of Zettelkasten is actually, again, it's yet another like thing that's like almost exactly in the same vein. there's just so many efforts in this knowledge management and this knowledge worker vein, that there's just really great amount of thinking. It's just not organized thinking. It's like it's all over the place and everybody's got these great ideas, but there's no convention about it. I think Jamstack's probably the closest to it. The Jamstack convention. What you're talking about is very similar to the new tools like Obsidian and Rome. I've never heard of those tools. So let's go look at them right now. People, I'm just going to write them down actually. I'm going to say, go look at Obsidian and Rome. Thanks for mentioning that, Copter Zero. Thank you a lot. That really helps. Again, the Association of Knowledge Workers on RWXROV Live. People implicity by some AI metrics. No, this is up to you. No, it's more explicit than that. You avoid people because you don't want to see them and you blacklist people. So let's say this is, okay, so this is the alternative to Wikipedia. The Wikipedia, like, limit. Here's the working case, right? So everybody who's a participant in this has their own knowledge base. And that knowledge base, a part of the knowledge base, is a list of people they follow, potentially with a rank of how their priority in their life personally, and a blacklist of people that they think nobody should follow. All right. And then when you come across that person, you can decide whether you trust their judgment on whether someone should be blacklisted or not. And the whole system polices itself based on trust. And so you'll have certain people who will, if there were to have it to be a MIM directory that had a bunch of things for this, an ID for knowledge management. Yeah, we want that too. I want an ID for that too. The IDE that I created for this was called Escritoire. At least I architected it. I haven't finished it yet. It's called Escritoire, which is a writing desk. It's a French writing desk. If I ever make a thing that's a graphic inner tool to this, it'll be called Escritoire, and it will be basically a VS Code clone of types that's fundamentally focused on knowledge creation and management. And but you know what? See, there's enough individual efforts here that you know what else we need? We need a device that reads the knowledge net without any HTML involved at all. That device needs to be created. That has an internal search engine that learns that uses the semantics and the settings of the algorithm. The one piece of this that when it happens, I will literally faint with pleasure. Will be holding in my hands a MIM or a knowledge net reader that allows me to set the SEO with sliders and input things, and gives me full control of my own searching, of my own knowledge net. It's meant to be the JavaScript killer, allowing React to be written in C#. I'm just going to glaze over that one. What do you think is the best repo? I don't know, man. This is all really exciting. Great idea, Rob. It's not even original. It's just been around for a long time. I just think we need to organize around it. I really do. I think that's the issue. Roman and Obsidian are winning the graph-based no-taking space right now. It's very new. Oh, that's cool. Is that like mind mapping too? Which is another thing that needs to be a big part of this. But so knowledge creation and IDE has a mind mapper in it as well as a markdown thing. I'd like that. This entire effort has like several major subcategories. Distance learning, you can join. Yeah, continue sleeping. Exactly. The whole creation of knowledge, either with an IDE or with a command line, which I think if we have the best lowest common denominator, which is Markdown, who cares? Who cares how it's created? You can use TextMate if you want. I don't care, because the fundamental, you're not tied into some proprietary XML shit that has to be created to have a compatible, LibreOffice interface, blah, 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 blah. Right? We just have the fundamental. The real key to this whole thing is really centralizing on a subset of Pandoc, and the rest, and then everything else can come from there. And then how do you share? I mean, how do you publish, of course, and how do you share? How do you say, here's who I follow, and discovery. How am I discovered? Aggregate post from it has many of the same features of RSS. The difference with RSS is that RSS has a number of really substantial flaws. The biggest one being that you have to download the entire RSS feed, and the knowledge base that I'm talking about having, the one that I was trying to work for, I have over 1,200 knowledge nodes in there. There's no way, and it's not. The RSS might be good. We might leverage RSS to communicate an update to the knowledge base, but even that I think is not good. The best way to get to detect differences, by the way, in my system that I kind of thought of, we can tweak it, is you have a manifest of everything in your knowledge base that has a timestamp, and if somebody wants to see if anything changed, you are in control. You don't have to go check the RSS or get pushed or something. You're like, okay, I want to run a scan to see who has new data, and so you keep a copy of their manifest, and you download the manifest, and you make a difference in which things have changed. And you may have a previous copy of that change. You can say, oh my God, that one article changed, that one knowledge node. I love this knowledge node. What did he change? And then it's basically Git for knowledge without the Git. So then you say, well, what changed? Oh, I want that. Oh, I want to download that one. So through your interface or whatever, you create a verbatim copy of that, and you can download stuff at different levels. You can download, just the manifest file to see what changed. You can download the specific node that you want to update, and the way that it's basically you control the cache, and you say, or I want a full copy of their whole site every time. And the other thing that's really great about this is it leverages all the best principles of Git. Because now everybody who is subscribed to somebody with a full subscription has a verbatim copy of everybody else's knowledge net. You see what I'm saying? And now a government can't come in and just destroy one of them through centralization. So now you have knowledge independence, that federated knowledge that lives everywhere. So and then you apply the best in peer-to-peer technology for this whole thing. And so you have the distribution of knowledge in a way that cannot be controlled. It's not even hard. It's just a matter of following through on it. You know what I mean? It's like to watch you browse those products on stream. Yeah, I will do that. That'd be fun. Mind mapping, I love mind mapping, except for they always get too complicated in the tool. The tool always gets way too complicated, and I'm like, woof. So it's yes, non-starter. Everything's locked in the service. Oh fuck no! Don't want to talk about it then. It dumps the folder of Markdown. Interesting. No blocks transclusion, though. That sounds like a good architecture. Did you happen to blacklist some person and then change mine and revert it? Yes. That's what's so great about it. You control it. If you want to blacklist somebody, fine. If you want to unblacklist them because you saw something else, fine. Right? Manifested versioning of a document called Git. Man, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, that's basically it. The Git idea for knowledge bases. That's exactly what it is. It's exactly so, and the only difference is, in fact, as I've said over and over again, none of these ideas are original. The software world has already managed the management of text, of source, I say, and the only thing different that we're doing here is applying all of the lessons learned and best practices of software management and control that have been given to us by Git and other things to knowledge, and the syntax of knowledge just happens to be pandoc markdown. And so in fact, you can even use Git for the distribution, but I prefer not to. I'd prefer to have, I just think Git's too heavy to force into the whole system. If you just have a manifest, that's ultimately what Git is, by the way. It's just saying all the things, it just, and it also kind of timestamps all the differences. The difference here would be you would have the manifest and then you share the manifest with somebody else, and by the way, when you get somebody else's manifest, you also get all of their ranks and subscriptions and everything. So you get an aggregate total of for a search engine. And by the way, if you know you're going to go into the mountains or something, you get on your laptop or your phone even. You get on your laptop or your phone and say, okay, I want full copies of all my people. I want full copies of everybody in my federated database. And you let it run for a while, but it's all text and raster images, so you're not going to get overwhelmed. That's another big part of this. We can't allow a lot of heavy things in this. Anything that would not naturally go into a Git repo should not be allowed. So if you have some big file kind of idea, we don't want any sort of big file in a knowledge base. So there kind of needs to be, because otherwise if somebody wants a true copy of it, they'll break your whole system, right? And by the way, if somebody does do that, guess what happens? Everybody blackballs them and nobody follows them anymore. So, it's like, oh crap. I'm trying to go to the mountains to go on a hike. In the app trail, I want to go on a hike and read everybody's knowledge base updates, and you can't get them all. I just think it's so cool. Every time I talk about this, I want it to exist so bad. It just hurts my bones because I would give anything for this kind of access to certain people, you know, and I just have to get the idea out there. You don't get scrubbing or censorship. Right. It's all gone. There is no censorship. There's no organization to control it, you know, and for better or worse. Right. So what about collaboration? Well, collaboration just becomes a matter of, there's not, I don't know. I haven't thought about collaboration at all. I don't think there should be a chat system involved. This is more of a caching knowledge system so far. If we were to come up with some sort of, you know, who knows? I mean, this is the kind of thing that if we created an association and it had a convention or something, we could have working groups that would be, you know, working groups of knowledge workers assigned to collaboration. So how can we collaborate safely? How can we collaborate in real time? Those are not topics I've even talked about yet. You know, we're kind of all centralized around these for-profit things, but why do we have to be? You know, IRC was a thing before it, and nobody uses it anymore because it got dated. It got replaced by proprietary replacement. The guys who made Discord are like, and Slack are like, let's make IRC but with color, and let's put advertising in it. The same kind of concerns that were around the creation of IRC have not been present enough to create a federated modern version of IRC that outdoes the for-profit competitors, Discord and Slack. There needs to be an open collaboration framework that is better. And everybody say, yeah, there's IRC. But IRC is not good enough. It's got problems, and there's nobody thinking about alternatives to that because they're like, just use Discord, dude. And then Discord starts, you know, going down or controlling things, and Slack starts doing their shit. So, and bottom line, on the open source front, the free software front, there's not a lot of thought on the knowledge worker thing anymore. There's not a lot of innovation because they're all dying, you know, they're accepting certain things. You get under the hood. Well, Git is, look, how you maintain your knowledge base is up to you. And Git is arguably the best way to do that. But it doesn't have to be, right? It doesn't have to be, but Git is where I'm coming from. That's what I would actually use. Could docs have multiple creators? Absolutely. Docs, it's what you consider an entity that's doing, but there's only one entity publishing. So if let's say you have a team of writers, they can be an entity on the knowledge net. You could even have, you know, an entire Wikipedia team be a member of that team. But I tell you what, if you screw it up and you have antagonistic stuff that's not written for the reader, that's more written for who can prove they're the better person, you're going to get blackballed. It is literally a personal social network. Yes, that's what this is. But it's about knowledge networking stuff. I imagine it's going to grow into it. Now, the whole idea is kind of out of knowledge working, and I want to keep the focus personally on knowledge work, but it really is social networking as well. It's just not the kind of social networking I think that people, you know, I don't know, man. You might be blowing my mind there. What's to stop this from being a federated social network? You know, that doesn't, the big thing about this is it doesn't matter where you host your knowledge base. So you would have people popping up all over the place. And here's the best part. The people who are popping up for you to host on them are going to be asking for your money. They're not going to be selling your information to anybody, which means what? They're going to be giving you perks. Oh, host for us for free. Host on us for free. Host over here for free. You see what I'm saying? And if they ever dreamed of selling your data to somebody, first of all, the data you're publishing is public anyway. But if they ever dreamed, that's the other thing. There's no idea for privacy here other than your own GPG signed files. And that's up to you to do. There is the biggest mistake with security in general is securing the connections between things instead of the content itself. So, you know, the cypherpunks would be proud of this, because if you want to secure a file or 2 or 10, you would GPG encrypt it, and the file would be encrypted at rest, which means any hosting service would have no access to it. You can sign. What's another one of the biggest problems in the internet? Attribution. Everybody says, "Oh, I wrote that," right? Still a problem. This is still a problem in 2020. SVGs, yeah, SVGs are small, but they're complex. SVGs we'd have to talk about, because SVGs add a level of complexity to the reader that is hard to swallow. That's another reason that, like, the lowest common denominator for the knowledge source, because raster images and plain old Markdown can be rendered in practically anything. If you had SVG support, you have to have SVG rendering, which is why you don't see SVG supported in GitLab and GitHub and stuff like that. But that's up for debate. We would have to talk about that. Back to small chunks for efficient learning in the beginning. Yeah. Yep. I believe collaboration should be limited to other modes of communication. I tend to agree with that. That's why I haven't added it. To me, this entire system is more like the cache of your knowledge and the sharing of the cache of your knowledge. It's basically a brain dump, of your ideas and dreams and career and life work and all that. And it's you sharing that with the world, and not so much in kind of a publishing. Here I am, come see what I have to say. Not I'm gonna push chat messages at you in real time. I'm not a real time person. Here I am live streaming. I believe collaboration should be limited to other phones. I agree with that one. My system support collaboration. Collaboration. God, I want to share, but I need to write articles first. Is anyone interested in joining Discord for this project? You guys, make a channel. I have Discord already set up for this. We can make a subset of my live channel if you want. We can make an entirely different channel for this. Give me some time. I'm really seriously thinking about creating the Association of Knowledge Workers as an organization, like a nonprofit, because this would give us a platform to discuss these kind of things. I want to be shared, but I need to write articles for, yes, write those articles. I think review function with assigned people would be nice. Yeah. Knowledge base is to stay true to its purpose and not divert to other purposes. I agree, Caprice. I think that's why when we talk about collaboration, it's a different thing. It's not so much about sharing knowledge as much as it's like immediate real-time communication, which is sharing knowledge. But a lot of times that's just, hey, go here and look at this. You know what I mean? Telegram. I like Telegram. Telegram's not bad. That's a collaborator kind of thing. Welcome, Master, by the way. Freenode.net is still currently 77,000 users. Yeah. Discord has 25 million active users. Looks like IRC is really a bit dated. Yeah, and that's my point. So it sounds like a number of you are interested in the collaboration question, and I'm not particularly interested in that question. I'm more interested in being able to search my own data. This is really where this is coming from. People say that the best solutions always come from scratching your own itch. Well, I have a huge itch, and my itch is I want to be able to search my own data because I'm getting old and I can't find anything. And I also want to be able to search your data if you make it public, and I want to do it really quickly and easily because I don't have time, because I'm a knowledge worker. I'm being paid by how fast I can look stuff up. So those concerns are my primary concerns. Being able to quickly communicate with somebody is still really important. Don't get me wrong, but I don't find that at the forefront of what I have to say. You know what? I think live streaming, like we're doing right now in this collaborative community right here, I think this is a big part of the modern knowledge worker workflow. I think it's going to become more so. I think we're going to start seeing more and more people just live stream everything, and there's going to be more and more acceptance of doing that in the workplace. So people like Parmigian aren't going to be their hand slapped for streaming from Netflix, even though he's not doing anything but open source. More and more, just like companies didn't like IRC, you get fired for using IRC or chat or Linux, and now all of those things are standard tools. I think eventually live streaming, like I'm doing right now, we're collaborating like this, is the future. I really do, because it's just so valuable. There's just somebody's going to eventually figure out that there's money to be made by having their people collaborate openly with others, and that's gonna cover a lot of the costs. Their people will be better informed. Anything, a system of distributed betas in short. Yes, distributed knowledge nets. And nothing is actually a database. I consider SQLite as a source, but right now it's just a number of manifest files, text files, and see, if it stays small, just keep thinking. If you get off track like I do, just keep thinking of source code. You know, source code at the end of the day is a database. It's a database of the source to make this thing run, right? So that's all we're talking about. It's not really distributed databases. It's more about distributed knowledge source, right? So my knowledge source code that runs me and my life and my career and my current requirements is something I capture and use all the time. And it's my source code. It is literally my source code. In fact, I write, this all came about because I was writing steps for people to do, and this comes back to the work database. And I was literally writing an algorithm for a human being. I was coding a human. I was like, and gets back to the Frerian banker idea of education. But if you could take this algorithm, you know, how to set your SSH key on GitHub, for example, so that you can use Git, right? That entire task from beginning to end is an algorithm that you can write in English. And I was thinking to myself, I am literally writing source code to program a human brain. That's what it is. Do this step, then do this step. I'm writing a procedure and I'm going to put it into this person's brain because they're going to read it and they're going to act on it and process it. And at some point they're going to repeat it so that they actually stays in their brain. And when that stays in their brain, so the science of mentoring and education is largely, it's not about opening up the head and pouring in the knowledge. It's more about programming them. It's literally about programming them. Here's how you do this skill. Go do it 20 times. That will reinforce it. Now it's written to your ones and zeros in your brain. And now you've got it. You're like an Android. You can like pull it up anytime. And so when I say knowledge source, that's what I mean. It's more of a knowledge source than I would say database. And database, but because it contains knowledge, which is like, this gets into the fundamental question of what is knowledge. You know, you have skills, knowledge, and abilities, which is something actually I have a thing on that already right here. This gets into this whole idea. This is kind of the leftover from this morning. You know, in life, a person works to fulfill their goals toward one or more careers. This is a domain model for which they take on certain roles, filling requirements of different occupations, sometimes called jobs or just hobbies or interests, each defined by an entity, otherwise known as an enterprise, organization, community, client, or self, that requires performing tasks usually associated with the project, requiring specific skills, knowledge, and abilities in exchange for experience and compensation. So this is me finding all the terms of the system in general, specifically for what is grown out of my resume thing, which is now more of it's more like I call it like a life work database or a career database. This is just one piece of this. This is what I was trying to say. There's like the knowledge base part, and then there's also this sort of related, but not necessarily. I have actually a picture of this. They could be contained within themselves, you know, if we wanted to put them together. But so, you know, I have Mim base and Mim work. The work data, you know, the work data from which you draw your resume or your CV or anything is right here. And then you have, you know, the other thing. And so the point being is that ultimately this is what I started this video, you know, talking about, is I've come to the realization that all this stuff is related. It's all just publishing your knowledge, every bit of it. And that includes a log of your achievements, activities, jobs, in the work you've done. And if you look back in the 1800s, there's so many parallels in the 1800s during, you know, the steam age and all that. Because why? Because they were doing this. They were communicating through correspondence. They kept their correspondence, so they had knowledge from other people. They read each other's books. They shared books with each other. They wrote logs about everything. They logged everything down because every single detail was valuable. And we're not doing that as much now. I mean, we are. We're blogging. There's a lot of people that do it, but. You shared a Discord link. My comments on a link on their screen. If you want, I have a Discord already. Why don't you come join ours? I don't care if you share a Discord link if you want to, but I'd prefer you come into the one that I already have. But that's only because most of the people that are here are already in it, and they wouldn't have to come join you. They could just already be there, and you could join us. If somebody want to send him the link, I don't have it right now. Actually, if you go to RWX. Rob, actually, the Discord link is in YouTube. And if you go up to the top in YouTube, there's a Discord link. You can click on it. It should get you in there. I'm going to probably, well, it's 3 o'clock already. one of the things, I need to take a break. I've been going since midnight-ish my time, so I'm going to take a quick little break. I might come back for another couple hours, but we'll see. This has been a really vibrant discussion. I really appreciate it. Flow daily, then the average person can process them coherently. Totally agree. I totally agree, and that's why I want to search it, right? So when the end goal for me is that I want to be able to follow a bunch of people. I got in trouble for suggesting I was going to create an application called Stalker. So it just got all of their information and then I could search that information. But all of it is based on the fact that if I want to be able to quickly search a very precise set of data and knowledge that I have curated myself. I don't want to trust anybody else to curate that data. And that's really what this is about. Implementations of quantified self-personal data repository. Ooh. PKM search, yeah. Copy link. Let's see if we can find that. Again, there's a lot of really great thinking on this topic, I imagine, and there may even be association about it, but Exobrain, yeah. Oh, that's a great idea. Exobrain sounds already intriguing for me. Personal site search infrastructure for your knowledge code. Oh, this is fantastic. That's going in my mandatory reading right now. What? I thought I had that set up. Nope. Okay. Searching a code I want, existing code searching tools, use Emacs and RiffGrip. This is usually what knowledge workers will come up with. First of all, I found a bunch of things in common. Usually they use Linux. Secondly, a lot of them use Emacs because they're academics. And they're usually grepping through files or using shellcode, which is what I'm doing. He did already. He shared the link. It's up above. Go look up above. Shite. He already shared the link. Funks a lot. You can go look at it. Part of why I watch this stream, including enjoying it, is the constant stream of newcomers with fresh eyes. I'm learning that what resonates with others, KB, are aligned really well here. Yeah. I intend to rate other people's KB and build an ML model to find content which is relevant to me. Right. And people's knowledge base, yes. And I mean, look, this all builds on the idea of community, right? And humans are social creatures. We might be all stuck in our cubicles right now in our home or whatever. Yeah, Evergreen and Zettelkasten. Yeah, that's actually what we were just talking about. Yeah, Evergreen and Zettelkasten are both good. I just think that they're first of all, they're centralized, and the really fundamental idea about Zettelkasten I found really refreshing, that was exactly in line with what I was designing myself, was the idea of a Zettel, I think it is, right? It's like the most finite node of knowledge. I call them knowledge nodes. And again, this came out of a necessity because I was writing, this is why books suck, right? So let's say you're writing a book, you're writing two books. You write one book on web development, another book on backend development. Both of the books need to have Linux. So if you write those books, what do you do with the Linux section? You have identical information in both of them. Do you copy that information into the book and into the other one? What happens if you make a change? Now this one's out of sync with the other one. So a really fundamental, and this is again a software principle that we're applying to knowledge source. We use composition. And then what do? And then you create a knowledge node, which is an autonomous, structure of knowledge or bit of knowledge, such as install SSH keys, which has to be done for many, many other things. And then you create other knowledge nodes, which are composed of those knowledge nodes. And that gets into what I would think maybe Wolfram's graph theory might be related to a little bit. I don't know. But the idea is that you use composition to create content that is rendered, compiled, whatever you want, from that content. And if one piece of that content changes, just like compiling software, only that piece needs to be rebuilt. Only the things that have dependencies on that node need to be recomposed. So, and by the way, if the whole thing is just in a raw knowledge in the first place, then you're just linking to everything, and that was the idea behind the original internet. But it takes complete fucking assholes at Google to say, oh, our SEO algorithm rewards people who don't outlink to stuff. We reward people who have more inbound links than outbound links. How upside down is that? It's almost as if Google directly targeted the original mission of the World Wide Web and said, we're going to destroy that. Just pisses me off to no end. They rewarded people for not doing what the World Wide Web was intended to do, which was to encourage exchange and cross-linking. And they rewarded people and paid them money for not doing it. And I cannot tell you how much that pisses me off. And that's just, people get on Google for all of its other privacy violations as being evil. But that right there, that's all you need to know. They created an algorithm and rewarded people for obliterating the original purpose of the World Wide Web. They are destroying the web. Okay, I have to calm down. I want to fix it. I'm tired of complaining. I want to make something different. And if that means organizing and whipping them into shape and telling them they're a bunch of fucking idiot bros who do whiteboard tests and think they're better than everybody, go fuck yourself, Google. Seriously. They're ruining our web. They're ruining our world. And they're just one of them. There's a couple of them that are doing it. And you know why? Because they don't think about it. The technology is compelling. We're making money. Selling people to... You know what? It's sick and wrong is what it is. And it's going to ruin us all. And then they're making money telling everybody, we made a mistake. I'm sorry. I have to calm down. Okay. Okay, that is what I was asking for. Oh, you got the Discord link? Is that my link? I don't know what that one is, but whatever. I'm off for the night. Did I scare you, Og? I scared you away. Well, it's good to see you, Og. I really want to get this done. I really do. Maybe if we have more people helping us, we'll be able to do it. You're gathering on Discord, joining now. Good morning, all. Hey, Q, it's good to see you. I'm actually taking a quick break and come back. I obviously need one. And yeah, added to personal bookmarks. Evergreen missing the one key factor. Evergreen is not a note for a concept. It's a note for an idea, right? We need a note for a concept. Actually, it's not fully out there. I have it in my notes. I have 7 or 8 different node types. Here's what's really great. So because we're using the software paradigm, all the other things apply. So I have like 7 or 8 standard node types, but people can define their own knowledge node types. And then you can compose the knowledge based on that, and you can decide how those nodes are rendered based on the type of node, the type of knowledge node. And that's where the Zettelkasten stuff comes in, because Zettelkasten, from what I understand, is all about breaking knowledge down into its finite pieces so that you can recompose it together. And that idea, I think, is really, really effective and substantial. In fact, it's it's the basics of organic knowledge based sort of things. Tech Giant bad, Orange Man bad. Oh, never mind. Hey, Clementino. Good morning. See what I did there? Let's see. Concept is an aggregation question. A question. It is. Is it not? Yep, Garen, that's a good idea. Yeah, pretty cool stream. Which part? The part where I'm ranting about against Google, I'm trying to get myself attacked. Yes, the one is your link from the Twitch. Well, thank you, our clan. Not a lot of people realize the value of digitized information and how it's the oil of the 21st century. It is. It is, and this is why I'm so into this, because if we can organize the digitalization of information and the federation of it, and the this I like federation because it's a better word than democratic, right? It's not really democratic, but we're equally sharing our knowledge in a way that can be shared, and that is built up by the community, not by an organization or corporation, and it's not controlled by anyone. That by the way, that is look. Go watch Aaron Swartz. This was Aaron Swartz's life mission. It was his life mission to do this, to free information, to promote the exchange of knowledge. It's why he was one of the creators of Reddit, and he invented Wikipedia like years before it was a thing. Only thing I'm doing is just picking up the torch as much as I can from Aaron. I believe in what he did. We haven't attacked SolarWinds now. We're not going to talk about that. No. I mean, is anybody surprised, really? If you're surprised, you're not paying attention. Now I've got work and go to. Yeah, me too. Work on my Mim directory. I'm trying. I gotta go get some more stuff for this. We're going to change the world for the better. Remind people that we are all human. You people are amazing. Keep going. Keep learning. Keep inspiring. Yeah, Og, it's good to see you again. I mean, it's just so everybody else knows, Og has been an active proponent for all this knowledge and this stuff since the beginning of when I presented it some months ago here on live stream. Rantastic. But I want to do more than rant. Honestly, I want to build and don't get mad, get busy. It's one of my own code of conduct line items. You can read my code of conduct, by the way, so you can help me keep it on robs.io /COC. It's what I try to live by, and I fail miserably many times. That's why I wrote it down. It's like these are my commandments for myself that I'm going to try to follow. If we structure the problem as breaking a concept into shared questions, machine learning can be used for this. It absolutely can. And I am not as astute in the machine learning field as I want to be, but one of the things I think that would be really fascinating, and we're not talking about a lot of information here. There might be a couple of wake up calls during this whole thing. So, I mean, let's say that you follow. Let's say you follow 100 people, right? And each of those people over the course of their entire life produces, maybe 1,500 knowledge nodes and, a ton of blogs. What would the data be that you're replicating, right? There are another couple problems with this. One of them might be that people might not buy into it because they won't be able to take back what they've written. And I actually like that. And the reason I like that is because it forces the biggest problem I think with social media that exists right now is that people don't think about what they write, and then they rant, and the next morning they delete their tweet, and they write when they're emotional, and I, of course, God knows I write when I'm emotional, and I've deleted plenty of tweets, but the old correspondent, there's a lot we can learn from the old correspondence era. In the correspondence times, if you were pissed off, you had to be pissed off with a pen and quill, and you had to write it and not screw up your writing because you only got one, and you had to send it. So it caused everybody to cool down a little bit, I think, because they had time to communicate what they were thinking. By the time they ended the letter, they're like, oh my God, I was like ranting at the beginning. Did you see this? And it certainly didn't force them into 200 fucking characters to say their whole disagreement with it. This is the I don't know how to capture this, but I wanted to write about this a long time. The reason that we're having trouble with our social media right now is because we are tired of processing information, and so that leaves us with what? We have to share conclusions up front instead of the facts that led us to those conclusions. And I have a saying, don't start with conclusions. It was actually a rule in my community. If you want to get into a fight with somebody, start with a conclusion. Rust sucks. Microsoft is the devil. Google is evil. Those are fighting words because you haven't justified why you said it. And but the very nature of federated information will take time to ramp up. I agree. So did Linux. How long did it take Linux to get off the ground, right? Discord is one of the first steps to it, but it's not on the wrong track for now. Yeah, Discord, sharing of Discord servers. I agree with that completely. If we structure a problem as breaking a concept into shared questions, we talked about that. It's really great. Yes, machine learning, shortest path between two unrelated concepts. Exactly, and that's where I think graph theory and stuff like that could come around. Particularly because I plan on breaking everything up. This is why I'm doing Pagan, because I want to write my own parser for all this so that I can create word lexicons. You can not only set the settings for your search parameters, but you can set the settings for how much you want in your lexicon. You know what I mean? And your lexicon is an exact copy of everything else with every occurrence of the word in it. The fact that we can even create that we can basically create the equivalent. When I was at BYU, which is a Mormon school, it made like national news and international news when they put the Bible and the Book of Mormon, and they actually created search indexes based on keywords. It was huge news, and now you can do that in like 5 minutes in a knowledge base. The ability to have like a keyword-based lexicon, to basically have Google in your pocket, your own Google in your pocket, in your phone even. This is another thing. Do it the right. If we do the app the right way, the biggest problem we have with doing this on mobile, and there probably need to be a working group for this, is because mobile doesn't have the ability to do storage. You have to store someplace else, and that sucks. So this is where gRPC and protobuf and stuff like that come in, right? And this is why I'm really into this edge technology stuff, because then you're still hosting your stuff on a service that you control or that you decided, you know. So it's got competition, right? And you're paying for hosting, so you're the customer, you're not the product. So you say, okay, well, I want to have. I want to be able to use my phone. So if I host this particular service, you know, I trust them more, whatever. And they have a gRPC interface, so I can use my native app and I can search my knowledge base, which is a collection of all these other knowledge bases there, you know, from my phone over the wire. And then I don't have to deal with keeping all that data on my phone. But so that's kind of, those are all the things that I want to look at. It does make sense to do. It's basically a knowledge-based microservice at that point. I mean, can you imagine? Just think of how cool that would be. That take back does not mean delete forever in terms of streams. It is another stream zero size element, which becomes current, but all history saves on timeline. It really does. Convenience is the death of cognition. Yeah, it's true too. Swartz talked about an open library at one point. Yep. What you're talking about is a bit ago sounding similar to that, except it focuses more around books. Yeah, I don't know that it even needs to be about books. I think it needs to be just knowledge in general. That's the whole thing about knowledge nodes, and I'm not particularly. Look, you can take one of the things I want to do with a knowledge base is you can set up a topical guide in YAML, and you can basically compose. It's like one big import file that composes all that stuff together and pulls it in, and you can like render that as a PDF or whatever you want. All right, I'm just going to get a tea and come back. I don't have time to write you a short letter, so I wrote you a long one. Exactly, right? Yeah. Convenience is the death of cognition. I disagree. For example, Aristotle said paper will make people stupid. I think it was Socrates who said that. Aristotle may have repeated it. But yeah, Socrates hated reading. He was like all about this dialogue. In fact, studying Socrates recently, I mean, I thought I knew a lot about him, but the one thing I totally missed somehow was he did not write shit down. He was against it. He thought that dialogue was the natural way of doing everything. Science makes someone stupid. Meaning that people would rather accept something at its face value or draw conclusions without doing their own. Yeah, oh God, yeah. That's just intellectual laziness. We've talked about that before a lot, right? I agree. That's sad because most people are lazy. They don't have time to. I mean, let's give them the benefit of the doubt. So this is commandment or point number 2 on my own code of conduct. Give people the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to try to do it here. You need to consider that people just don't have time, and that would be my case. You know, I am not actively seeking to be dumb on a particular topic. I just don't have time to take all of those topics in. And someone will say, my stepson is a good example of this. My stepson sits and watches YouTube videos about games and stuff all day, every day. He watches memes. He does American history, Asian history, whatever. And we'll sit at the table sometimes, and he'll be like, "What do you mean you don't know about that? Don't you study anything?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I do a lot of studying. I just don't study that. You know, I'm glad that you do, so that we can share." And he like just looks down on me because I don't know about X and X meme or game release or something. So it's just a time thing. There's just so much stuff, which is why we need to facilitate the sharing and exchange of knowledge on topics that we want. There is something of a, it is going to be interesting. I have a feeling that there's still going to be people with personas because, you know, the whole idea of Twitter, right? Like, and this actually plays out in the whole career thing, the career database or the life work database or whatever. Because like, I'm really interested in paddleboarding, but I'm also really, really interested in Kubernetes. The crossover between those two interests is almost non-existent, and it definitely isn't, a relevant relationship. And I have a feeling that whatever this thing is, I already know this because I have 5 knowledge bases right now, 3. I have robs.io, which is my personal, philosophical kind of ranting and notes and stuff. I have RWXGG, which is my official, here's where you go to learn stuff. And then I have skillstack.io, which is my mentoring business. And every one of those is deployed as a knowledge base. And I sometimes wonder that we would get 2 split up, right? But each one kind of represents a role in my life. Like, this is a role in my life here. This is a role in my life here. And so having a knowledge base that goes with a role, I'm going to write that down. That's really that's the domain association. So I'm just going to write that down really quick. That's what it is. It's you have like one knowledge base per role. So the UML would look like this. Yeah, like 1 or more per role, but I'm just going to put 1. I mean, that's like basic UML, just knowledge base in a role. So yeah, we split into its own. Yeah, me too. And but these are all interesting. At least we're talking about these challenges, right? That is a really big one for me though, because I sometimes I think, well, it'll be fun if I put a films listing in RWXGG. Sometimes it's just easier to make this big old thing. Encyclopedia is dedicated to whole volumes for lists of headings and categories, all this meta stuff. If you want to link information in paper, you got to write it down more than twice. This is true. I would say it's a combination of information overload and convenience. Yeah. Now, social media is too easy to get what people think is factual information, so they just accept what they see. Totally agree with that. With regard to the storage solution of the knowledge base, how would a localized instance of it work? For example, a device that only routinely connects to the internet and thus has no concurrent connection. Okay, so this is a fundamental requirement before I'll consider anything. It cannot depend on the internet. It can't. The internet is obviously going to be, this is progressive enhancement at its, best, if you ask me. The knowledge system, whatever is the framework, should be able to work entirely by sneakernet. So if someone has a USB of their knowledge base and they come over to you and they give you your knowledge base and they give a copy, and someone comes over here and gives you their copy of the knowledge base, a knowledge, by the way, most knowledge bases just fit entirely on, the average size USB stick. And the reason that is a fundamental requirement for me is half the fucking world doesn't have internet access here yet. And I refuse to create any system that continues to perpetuate that division. So, you should be able to take all that knowledge base without any fancy software. This is why there's not going to, the most complexity you'll ever see in the system is like a JSON file or a YAML file. It's all going to be human readable. There's not going to be any encrypted binary crap, because at the end of the day, you should be able to use all of the data by itself and write simple scripts to deal with it. We want to make the lowest common denominator for those that are making readers. And you should be able to exchange USB sticks and have that knowledge be kept. And that does many, many things. It protects you. But if you happen to have a connection, then that just facilitates all of that, makes it much easier. But I don't want to make the system dependent on any network of any kind, because I sincerely believe we're looking at a time. Here's the thing. Let's say you have we said these GPG parties. And I never went to one, but they have them. They have GPG parties where everybody would, signing parties, right? PGP signing parties. You go to these parties and everybody would say, hey, I trust you. Yeah, I'm going to sign your key. So what I want to be able to have is I want to be able to say, all right, I have my database and all the people that I synchronize with, right? And I'm making contact with somebody who doesn't have internet access. Maybe I'm a teacher and I go downtown and then I come in and I bring I update my knowledge base and I bring it back to the kids in the school who don't have internet access, and I plug it in, and now I have that entire knowledge base accessible to everybody in my room, and they can synchronize their knowledge bases over my private network or over my USB stick. And let's say you're having an ultra top like spy level secret, and I've talked about intelligence and all that stuff. Let's say you're having an ultra intelligence, high level intelligence thing and you don't want to share knowledge at all with anybody over any network, you can take those USB sticks to one of these parties and you can all share, and there's no viruses or anything. I mean, USBs themselves can have viruses, but tagging individual knowledge pages could be a good idea. Yes. Well, they all have tagging anyway, so no categories. And that, if you want to get into that, I've already kind of dug into that, but yeah, you should do one per project. Yeah, and I agree that it should be about one per project. Really, here's the thing. That's up to you. How you organize your knowledge is up to you. You want to break it up? Great. You want to have a big mono repo with a bunch of tags in it? Great. There will be constraints that the community will end up putting on itself based on the size of your knowledge bases, and I don't believe we should dictate what that is. I think we should say, look, cool stream, egg run, go to bed. Me too. I should probably too. Looking for shared knowledge IDE project in the future. That would be cool. So airdrop, that kind of thing. Basically, this is why no security can depend on any connection. It has to depend on the content. So if we add a security layer, it should be something like GPG, and it should be, and so the scenario where you're let's say you had this system and you were a Jew in Nazi Germany. I'm not saying that's true, but let's say you were, and you wanted to exchange information with them. How would you do it? You certainly wouldn't use a network. And we're getting to the point where the network is totally, the only safe way to exchange information right now, 100%, is SneakerNet. You have to walk over there and share that network, and it will defeat any surveillance. Any surveillance whatsoever will be defeated. If you're not connected, it will defeat it. And the thing about it is that if you're like, and this, by the way, the thing that's really cool about this, I really, really love this. This is exactly how revolutionaries in the original times shared knowledge. They would take a book to a person, and they would hand the book to the person, and that person would have a book, or Martin Luther King, or Martin Luther the original would like print up some pamphlets, and he'd put them in different places, and they would share them, the SneakerNet them to each other. And we can still allow humans to share data that way, and just do it digitally. So if the system will work without a network, it will just benefit from the network that's available. And the system would be available to anyone on the planet, including the literally billions of people who don't have internet access. And so, yeah, I think, well, see, here's the thing. I think the size will get out of control, but it will police itself. I really believe it will police itself. I really do. And storage is not going to be the issue here. Storage is not going to be the limiter. USB sticks, 32 gigabyte USB sticks are $5 now. go see how much text and raster images you can put in 36 gigabytes. Or 32 gigabytes. 32 gigabytes of raster images putting on a blockchain. I would not even talk about the blockchain. The reason we can't do the blockchain is because the blockchain can't be taken back. And look, I'm just going to say it. The blockchain is a fail. Unless you're using an isolated case for the blockchain, having a blockchain by itself has limitations. Designed for concurrent networks, right? Using Bluetooth or SMS can be a good idea for localized instances. Here's the thing, Caprice. It doesn't have to depend on any of that. It's like however you can transfer files is fine. You want to FTP it, fine. You want to SSH it, fine. See what I mean? And then the synchronization techniques that we create, the clients that do the synchronization can speak any number of protocols. So, by the way, that's built into the source URI. The source URI I have is like the canonical URI is get at whatever, or HTTP at this, or FTP at here, or Gopher at here, right? And so that's where you go for the canonical, version of it. Which, and by the way, your main manifest is signed by you if you want it to be, so that nobody can man in the middle. It gets you. So if you sign your main manifest file that contains your where your data is supposed to live and everything, if you sign that, then even if you get man in the middle attack, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The best thing about content encryption and content signing is it's completely impervious to man in the middle attacks, because they can't fake the checksum on the other side. This is why I don't understand why our whole security system is based on stuff. It sounds great. It's something I would actually like to see. I think most people want to see it when they look at it close enough. Using Bluetooth, yeah. I mean, honestly, it's completely network and protocol agnostic. It doesn't matter. It's just content. You see what I'm saying? That content could be hosted inside a picture, for God's sake, and disguised as, as a JPEG, which you can do. It's really fun with DD. Anybody ever done that? Anybody ever used DD or some tool to like hide a large amount of content inside an image? Yeah. Yeah, all of Wikipedia is like 7 to 10 gigs, right? So you see what I'm saying? So we're living in a time when this is now becoming a real reality. I'll tell you who doesn't want this to happen, man. If this thing gets legs, we are definitely going to get on somebody's radar, because we're talking about, we're talking about completely bypassing all surveillance systems, and that is not going to go down well. Just like GPG didn't go down well when it came out. I don't care. I think we're living in a time where we're going to start to see authoritarian regimes where people are going to need to communicate knowledge, not just war plans. That's knowledge, but and they need to be free to do that. And it's part of the original cypherpunk idea. I was never a cypherpunk. I wish I could say I was. I'm not nearly smart enough. But yeah. The content is likely too large for distributed ledger, right? It's too much stuff. Specifically, yeah. Content size, the message to be tiny in blockchain. Yes. Hiding stuff. Personally, having stuff organized in a time frame, I remember, turns up more light bulbs. Yeah, the crazy thing is, it doesn't even, the organization of the data isn't even particularly innovative. Let's crunch all the data so we have a keyword lexicon of the pages they are on. Let's organize the data as README files within subdirectories and subdirectories of subdirectories. Let's create a manifest file for each node that's been changed within a given amount of time with a timestamp. And let's create basically a knowledge net profile page that says where the canonical sources are and what my reference, any kind of contact information with a subscription thing. How complicated is that? That's not even complicated. The problem is it just hasn't been adopted. So we need to put something out there. And I would personally like to standardize it and say, okay, this is version whatever of the standard. So cryptographic puzzles. Yeah. Is it personal design problem? Right. The reason I'm okay with letting people decide how big their knowledge bases should be is because the system will control itself. People will not recommend your repo to you if it's too big. They'll say something to you. If you have a contact link, which you should have, right? They'll say, dude, I love your content, but I cannot sync it anymore. It's like way too big. like my Robs.io page. I'm trying to do my Pandoc build of my notes page, and it's like every single entry for the whole year. Because I haven't broken it out yet. And I'm like, it takes me like 30 minutes. Not that long. It feels like 30 minutes. And I'm like, Wikipedia is 100 gigabytes compressed, 10 gigabytes to 10 terabytes uncompressed. Wow, is it? It's huge. Did not know that. But still, the other thing too is you could create a compressed version of it. I would not suggest we get into compression. But here's the deal. If you're going to stick it on a USB, you're going to compress it, right? So that would be built in whatever tool we made. You could say, okay, I want to bundle this for distribution. By the way, if you use Git, it's already done. It's already done. If you use Git or GitLab or GitHub, click on the zip file. Boom. Do you want my entire knowledge base? Here it is. This is why I keep coming back to Git. Git is one of the things that actually promoted this type of thinking, because the thinking behind GitLab and Git and these other things, Zettelkasten or whatever, the thinking is consistent, and blockchain and peer-to-peer networks, all of this, the ideas behind them, they're just kind of congealing in a different way around knowledge. Archive of the mailing list is a tragedy. Oh, isn't that sad? Yeah, that's pretty sad. I mean, they've been trying really hard to get that. And I saw the cypherpunk. Yeah, cypherpunk, by the way. The idea. Sorry, you're talking about cyberpunk. I was talking about cypher. CYPH. It's a group back in the day. Yeah. Oh, there he goes. Moshi's correcting us. It's okay. It's okay. A little bit of misunderstanding there. Well, mine is already sort of split. I just have to separate them into their own repos. Right. And by the way, that's up to you, right? So you can decide if you want to split it or not. was in a race versus a bill which would make GPG like things illegal. Yes, it was. PGP 1, thank God. Yes, yep, it was. Cypherpunk. There's a decent archive on Verona. Yeah. They don't? None of them? Yeah, well. I watched the YouTube video on that. It was pretty interesting. I lived through that, but I was never a part of it. It's interesting though. But I mean, the thing I really like about it is the spirit behind it was kind of consistent with Aaron Schwartz's spirit of freeing information, the freedom of information, which is really all this is about, the freedom of knowledge. Knowledge shouldn't be contained, and you know, there's some, obviously there's some stuff that shouldn't be shared, but the whole thing about this is you decide your level of privacy, and because it's content, it's up to you to decide how you want to do that. Right. You could, if you wanted to itemize, you know, GPG signatures on all of your nodes. I played around with a part of the spec that I'll share at some point, where a knowledge node could indicate its key. In other words, if you have a readme.md, which is standard, you have to have readme.md. That's the file that has to be there. That's your knowledge node. And if you have readme.md.sig, that automatically can be used to validate everything in the knowledge, but it's not required. But if you do, if you add those, by the way, it's going to slow down your builds. And you don't have to do a build. When you make a new one, right now I have a KN render. It'll render it as HTML. Currently the spec I follow has readme.md and index.html as the standard names. And right now the two are together, even though the index.html is not required by the spec. I include it along with the readme.md because you know, obviously web content is the most authoritative right now. This is also why I want to make my own subversion of Pandoc, because I want to fix some of the things that are broken in the Pandoc render that are not incompatible with Pandoc. They're just annoying. Pandoc is starting to show its age a little bit. Some of the HTML rendering is not up to par, particularly for white space and pre-formatted text sections and stuff like that. And I just don't have the energy to go submit a bunch of tickets on it. And it's all in Haskell, which is another reason I'm writing my own parser, because I want to do this all in Go, and I, you know, honestly, I want to do it in Pagan so that anybody can generate their own code to do their own parser. That's what Pagan is coming from. This whole effort of mine was kind of going full rails with RWXGG and got derailed because the Pandoc AST was kind of crap, so I needed to make a new AST, and then that put me down the pagan.dev trail, and I've been doing that. Now I'm trying to pay the bills and get insurance because there's COVID, so I'm doing my resume stuff, looking for a full-time traditional job to supplement my perfectly fine mentoring job that doesn't have insurance. Yeah, let's not talk about it right now. Probably time for me to spend like 4 hours. I've been going for 4 hours straight, I think. PGP is the name of the protocol. GPG is the implementation. Yeah, Open PGP, or GPG, which is deployed in the standard library in Go. And I can't tell you how impressive that is. To find an Open PGP implementation in the standard library is very hard. There was a commercial version of PGP that used PGP around. Yes, they did. There definitely was. That's all changed now. He was sued by lawyers. Yeah, I remember that. That was fun, wasn't it? I remember that. He's actually on the. I think he chimed in on the whether you should use RSA or AES or something like that. There's a cryptography stack exchange out there. It's one of the ones I commented on long time ago. Yeah, criminal investigation. Yeah, I'm telling you, man, they will come after you if the powers that be don't have control. And the end game of something like what we're talking about is the obliteration of Google and any system that tries to control knowledge exchange. And they are not going to like that. They're not going to like it. And they'll just make me sound like a crazy kook. Like, what is this guy doing? What does he have to hide? It'll be the same attack they did against Aaron Schwartz and all the cypherpunks and everybody else. But the thing I'm going to take away from tonight, it is 4 o'clock, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap up. Phil Zimmerman, yeah. You got the source code up and making it a hardback. Isn't that awesome? Isn't that awesome? I think that's so cool to me. I mean, that's why I have faith in humanity, because there's always going to be people that are going to print out a hardback book of the source code just to beat the system. There's always going to be that person out there. And, you know, I'm not telling people to be terrorists. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that the free exchange of information is a natural, basic human right. And information and ideas and knowledge. And there are so many things that are manipulating that right now that it's sad and it's terrifying, actually. And frankly, this is one of the ways that I want to, at least, even if I don't live to see it, I would love to see a free and open knowledge net where everybody can exchange. Yeah, it really is. It should be. And even if that knowledge, you fundamentally disagree with the knowledge, you should be able to exchange that information. It was classified as ammunition in the U.S., so they couldn't export the source code, but codes are free speech. Books are free speech. Isn't that funny? Actually, corporations are killing people and sued them, so corporations are actually terrorist organizations. Well, yeah, I don't completely disagree. I know. They're definitely entities that, yeah. Crypto used to be treated as a military-grade ammunition, literally. Yes, it did. And, you know, I mean, I don't know if we have time to cover that topic right now, but I am not decided. We started on the ethics of all this last night. As I joked about creating a stalker tool that would identify all your information all over the internet and save it so you could just search it faster. And for the sole purpose of learning quickly and being able to follow what somebody says. And basically it would be like, I'm going to make a knowledge base about you, even though you don't want a knowledge base made about you. You're using LinkedIn. You're putting this data all over on all these public systems, but it's impossible for me to get all your data because it's all over the place. So I'm going to make a system that federates your data, collects it all, puts it in one place, and I'm going to search that. And that had people freaking out. They were like, that's not your right. You can't do that. I said, why? It's all public. I'm doing it for the right needs. Yeah, but it's going to be abused. People are going to correlate, things are going to rape people. They're going to be rape and murder in the streets. And, I don't know. But this is a similar topic, right? That would be a good tool for an individual to find out where information about them is on the internet, or it could be abused. It totally could be. And so that then dovetailed into the morality of technology in general. And we actually started talking about, like, is a sharpened rock, should a sharpened rock be regulated? Because when humans first invented a sharpened rock, they did it because they wanted to eat and survive and skin animals. And then they figured out, hey, if I put this on a stick, I can kill animals more effectively and feed my family. But oh my God, I just did it on accident to my enemy, and now he's dead. And I'm not a gun rights activist at all. And I think this is a really thorny topic, because I don't have a strong position on any of it, because there's so many angles to it. It's not just it depends on the user. Yeah, and these arguments, these arguments are really important arguments for our society to cover, because I also don't believe that allowing military grade weapons to be sold at Walmart is a good idea. And ammunition or not, so I don't have all the answers, but they're related. Those conversations are related to technology, because if we make a technology that allows a rapist to track every move of a person, does that mean that we made the rapist? If we create nuclear energy, I am the destroyer of worlds, Oppenheimer, right? If I create a technology that's going to obliterate Japan because America decides to end the war in a particular way, and does another one just in case because it was a good test. Let's kill millions of people because we want to test the bomb twice. One would have been fine, by the way. We'll blow away an extra how many billion people just because we got 2 bombs. I can't even talk about that. Did you know Japan had already surrendered when they did that? Yeah, Humans suck, man. Sometimes humans really, really suck. This is why I have no problem protecting myself from humans. And I'm not a conspiracy guy, but I, you know. I try to stay positive here, people. I'm trying to stay positive, but yeah, I don't want to get depressed. And somebody asked me if I knew who Ted Kaczynski was the other day. I'm like, why? Do I sound like him or something? I was like, no. MH17. I don't even know what that is. I probably should. To the use of tools is contingent upon the offloading of the layman's responsibility to teach themselves self-defense. Interesting. That's an interesting idea. Yeah. Oh, you found the mailing list. Nice, Moshi. I think I knew about that one someplace. I remember reading that in Verona somehow. I don't remember where I saw that. I think somebody may have actually posted it once upon a time. Basically go. All right. Well, this has been phenomenal as usual. And as usual, I find myself, humans suck, let's bomb them. It is easier to convince others with a veil that regulation of tools will be better for society. Yep. MH17 was an airplane with AIDS specialists with AIDS cure shut down by Russian militarists. Really? Wow. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I really believe in what Mandela says, that the best way to improve humanity is information and knowledge exchange, and therefore I believe fighting for that is one of the best ways that I personally can improve the world. Not just talking about it. It means trying to. I'm going to shut the stream down here pretty soon, but I'm going to talk to my wife about this. I seriously want to look into creating an association of knowledge workers, a nonprofit in America, and not just to promote my particular idea about how knowledge should be exchanged, but to organize. And because I think, first of all, I don't think our interests are being represented in government, and God knows there's a lot of other more important interests that need to be represented right now than my silly ability to exchange knowledge really quickly on the internet. But it doesn't mean that I shouldn't organize, right? But I will defend you to death your right to share your knowledge. Yeah, and I completely agree with that, right? It gets really sticky, right? Because there is some knowledge that sharing it, there's just no way you can ever tell me the knowledge that you're sharing has any level of good intent. But then this gets into that political question. Well, how do you decide that, right? And that becomes a social question, and it depends. It ultimately depends on who's in power. And if one particular religion or belief system is in power, they may, this overwhelm. Well, it's a bigger issue, and it's been talked about by humans since the dawn of time. What is okay to talk about? What knowledge is okay to exchange? What information is okay to share? And there've been book burnings forever. In the 50s, just the conversations we're having right now would get us thrown in jail. So yeah. Probably the face that we will not see the results in our lifetime, not necessarily mean that we doesn't need to do it. I think, if I can spend 4 hours, a day talking with other people, like-minded people, and we can redirect from whatever our distractions are for the moment, and we can think about what can be done to make the world a better place, like legitimately make the world a better place. And if there's something we can do about that, I mean, there's a lot of horrible things going on that I wish I had power over, but this is one thing I actually can do, that I can work on, and for that reason, I feel like it's one of the better uses of my time. So I don't regret it for a second. Does it mean I still have to finish my resume and get that job? Hell yeah. But just the conversation is already shaping the kind of job I'm going to look for. I'll tell you right now, as of this moment, I'm going to look for the kind of job that would allow me to participate in organizing the Association of Knowledge Workers and that kind of thing. And this conversation we're having right now kind of leads me to those conclusions, and it helps me along the path. It might not help me finish my resume, but it helps me know where I want to go next. Instead of 1984, let's imagine an internet with better informatics education. Here's the thing. I say that a lot. Here's the thing a lot. All information is sacred. No intention is sacred. Yes. Just like bad behavior, they really will. And so, yeah, this is, I don't know. It's the other thing too is it does not change humanity. There are always going to be people who are not going to care about learning anything or exchanging anything. That's just the nature of humanity. There are people who are not going to care, or they're not going to be able to care because they're unable to read or things like that. I don't want to put those people down. Socrates very openly approached people like that and treated them as worth talking to, even though they clearly were not on his level by any measure that we would apply today. And he would play the fool, and he would talk to them, and he would help them come to some agreement and learn. And Paulo Freire, in his book Pedagogy of the Oppressed, and this is probably why this is fresh on my mind right now. Paulo Freire's work, Pedagogy of the Oppressed, and many of his practices were put into place to, help countries and the populations of those countries kind of wake up from the oppression that they were in and realize that they were being oppressed, and then make the social changes needed. And the number one tool for doing that is dialogue. Number one. And so in that sense, Freire and Socrates have the same thing in common. And I'll tell you, just these live streams, I've already experienced this, because I feel the energy from the people that are participating, and sort of the ownership that they take of the conversation of like, no, this is something we can do. And so it is definitely a true fact that dialogue and the exchange of information and knowledge is how things change. It's the beginning. It's the first step. And so some people may not want to. The whole thing about Freire is that he's like, well, you can't just go tell somebody that they're being oppressed and that they're dumb. You have to present yourself as an equal, a sincere equal, and begin a dialogue and try to understand their situation. And then you can start creating themes, and you can almost replace the word meme there, and what he calls thematic ways to influence them and to help them. It's not propaganda, but help them understand what their situation is, and to change it. And whether or not you want to change the thinking of a people so that they can throw off their oppressor, or you just want to teach them HTML, there's a lot. They're common interests. So on that note, I just want to thank you guys, you people, y'all. Trying to cure myself of the term guys, for all the right reasons. I don't particularly find it offensive, but I know some do. So just cause, and I'd like to just wrap up and thank you. And I've got a lot of ideas. When I come back online, I will be probably not doing a lot with Protobuf, even though I think it's really cool. What I'm going to be doing is finishing the data model, which I started here, of this kind of career thing. So I'll be doing the data model, and then I'll be deriving Protobuf from the data model. And if that interests you, if you want to learn UML, or data modeling in general, the task of domain modeling. I said task because I looked at it, and I feel like I've learned how to do this a little bit better than I had before. So these are just notes. If you're interested in data modeling, this is the fundamental stuff for the system. Hey, print good night world. So we're gonna do that. Present a man with information and he'll ignore it. Anger a man with information and he'll devour it. Why did you tell me that, Caprice? It makes way too much sense. Did you say that? Who said that? It's going in my quotes list. You're going in my quotes list, dude. Or dudette. Whatever you are. Many atrocities were committed by people with their morality dialed to 11. Yeah. I completely agree. It takes, what does it say? The saying about, it takes religion for a good man to, I can't remember. There's a saying about that. Yeah, there's like a really, really good saying about that. It takes religion to make people truly evil, to kill. Oh, I don't know. I can't remember the exact quote. Boom, boom, beep, bop, beat, bop, boppity, boppity, bop, bop, wop, bam, boom. It's your trying to notice when it comes to social networks. Yep, it is. In fact, the reason that's so interesting to me is during the election, I was actively seeking information warfare, and because I just wanted to, and I studied propaganda. I studied some of the. I mean, I had already studied some of the Russian approaches, and it's just insane. But then I realized I can either rip people down and get them to do what I tell them to, or I can promote people to think critically. You know, those are two ways to change the world, right? One of them is to rip people apart and control them through rage trolling, or which just creates more sheep that can be controlled by other trolls with different intent. Or I can teach those people that are getting attacked by rage trolling as best I can through the Freudian methods and stuff to think critically and to share knowledge, and then they'll be immune from that, and they'll be able to critically make their own decisions and possibly. I truly believe most people, if they're presented with all the facts and information, most people are good at heart, and they would make the right choice for the sake of the community when given enough information. But you know, this mind is a complicated thing. So who knows? Maybe not. You know, they're able to convince yourself of anything. Thank you once again. I'm going to just fade away here. Take care. Put my whatever on. Whatever. It's not really a whatever stream. Oh, wait. Orchestrated learning, web design. Nope, that's not it either. Oh, there I am. I'm like having fun with all my toys. Boom, boom, boom. Good books about propaganda that aren't Chomsky. Bernays and Yor on my to-readers. Ooh, I need to read that. Yes, I definitely want to. Another reason I would follow you, Moshi. So you would be like top of my list on my on my people that I follow or subscribe, whatever you call it. Okay. Good night.